Hello, everybody, and welcome to round number 9 of the 2021 GP4 World ChampCar Offline Championship. After a week break away for Yui, at least, not for Flo, we are back, and we are here at the famous Nürburgring in Germany for the final European race of the World ChampCar season. I am your commentator for the day, JW97, and I'm joined today by my arch nemesis, Ra.
Yep, hello once again.
Yes, indeed. And you may have noticed that we had a thumbnail again. Yes, the thumbnails are officially back. But unfortunately, of course, as you know, we sadly don't have um, highlights anymore. For anybody who doesn't know, of course, despite several attempts to get certain softwares back, I've been unable to, I'm afraid. So it means the highlights for the top class are going to be no more. But I will still continue to do the team news, car launches, poll apps, and season calendar videos, all that stuff that doesn't require too much advanced editing. Unfortunately, the highlights did come under the advanced editing bit, which is a bit of a shame. But anyway, as you can see, we have got some track action on the way. The first car on the track is Thomas Cassidy, and we might as well talk about it a little bit whilst he's about to start his lap, because of course, for anybody who didn't see, the 2022 World Champ Car sign-ups officially opened yesterday, and well, two things that struck to mind about that sign-up was a couple of things really in terms of a couple of teams. So first of all, as expected, I don't think it's going to come as much of a surprise, but McLaren will be having BMW engines next season, the Aaron McLaren SP team, and they will become the main BMW team as a result in World Champ Car as well. Pyramid Racing, who are the current main BMW team, they will still continue to have BMW engines next season, but they will no longer be the main BMW team, hence why they're just going to be known as Pyramid Racing next season as opposed to BMW Pyramid Racing as they're currently known as. But the other thing as well, which surprisingly a lot of people seem to have raised their eyebrow a little bit on, is the fact that Chip Ganassi are also going to be switching engines next season. They're going to be switching from Honda engines to Mercedes engines. And I think it's safe to say a lot of people seem to see this as a bit of a bizarre move, Ra.
Yep, indeed. Quite unusual seeing Chip Ganassi, one of the famous famous teams in World Champ Car, switching brands to Mercedes. Yeah, pretty unusual. We'll see how they can do going into next season.
Indeed, but the only other reason as well why people believe it's a bit bizarre is the fact that the teams that are currently running Mercedes, which are Manor and Viper, well, the engine hasn't been performing that well. So whether or not Chip Ganassi can get something out of it next season or not is going to be another question. The next car on track, speaking of a Manor, will be a Manor or a Viper. It is Kim Song-un who'll be next after Thomas Cassidy, who's just started his lap here at the Nürburgring. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what Chip Ganassi are able to do with Mercedes power next season. It will also be fascinating to see what Aaron McLaren SP can do with BMW engines. We've just seen there that Thomas Cassidy just making a little bit of an error through into the left-hander there, the same place where Alonso and Massa in real life had their little bit of contact in 2007. So he now makes his way down towards the hairpin now then, before he will make his way soon up towards the Schumacher S. If interestingly enough, if I'm not mistaken, this is actually the first time that we're actually going to be seeing some racing around here at the Nürburgring, because obviously DTM doesn't go around here anymore due to the chaos that it usually brings for touring car racing. But for open wheelers, it's always been a pretty good. It's been a good. Nürburgring's been alright for the open wheelers, including F2 in the top class, so I can't imagine there'll be any chaos with the World Champ Car, mainly with this chicane, which has been the thing that has always been the Achilles tendon for the DTM cars in the past. But anyway, speaking of which, Cassidy now just comes out of that chicane, as he'll now make his way around the Coca-Cola curve. Obviously, his lap has already been a little bit compromised from that mistake he made going through into the left-hander, but Cassidy now then is going to cross the line to do a 1 minute 32.640, so that's the benchmarker time for everybody to beat, as we now look at Kim Sung-min in the Manor now then, the red and black Manor. Of course, Manor and Viper will stick with Mercedes power next season, and they will still be essentially the rookie cars for next season. So no changes there for the Manor and Vipers next season, and no change with the engine either. It's just that Chip Ganassi will be joining them as well. So 3 teams next season with Mercedes power. Francesco La Rosa in the second Manor is going to be out on track next of all, as Min now makes his way down the hairpin now then through to the first corner, using a bit of tarmac on the outside there, as he now makes his way around the long swooping left-hander we go. Now, last time out, of course, you have to cast your minds back a few weeks ago to the last World ChampCar race, which was, of course, at Monza. We saw Barcia's Class after 2 failed attempts at winning a race this season because, of course, one for a pileup that he was involved in at Laguna Seca, and the other one, of course, bottling basically the win at Silverstone when he was leading the race quite comfortably and then spun at Stowe. He finally got his first victory of the season, which now puts him up to 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. Safe to say, Ra, long overdue for him.
Yep, indeed, and considering that he is 44 points behind the championship leader Bruno de Barros, yeah, quite too late. But then again, we'll see. It could all change. I mean, yeah, de Barros did retire back at Spa, so so yes, things can change. Things can still happen, but de Barros has been very consistent so far.
Yes, indeed. Min, meanwhile, set 2 purple sectors at the moment, but he has lost a little bit of time in that middle sector. So, despite having a poor first sector due to the mistake Cassidy had, he was able to pull some time back in this middle sector. But the question is, can Min get in front of Cassidy, or will Cassidy be in front? Across the line goes Min, and he slots into second, 61 thousandths behind. So Cassidy, despite the mistake he made in sector 1, was able to recover that in the last 2 sectors. So pretty good going for him. Although, if it wasn't for that mistake in sector 1, he could have been a lot more quicker than Kim Sun Min. As here comes Francesco La Rosa, who is now next in the manor now then. As he will now make his way through the left and right hander now then before he makes his way down towards the chicane very soon. Manor, of course, still tied with Viper in the team's championship with 1 point. Manor still ahead, of course, on a count back of results. And neither team has scored any points for a while, really, but obviously you would expect that from the Manor and Viper teams, given the car that they're in, basically the car they bought obviously this season, and needs a lot of luck during the season if they ever want to get any points in this season. TJ Papero in the second of the Meyershank racing cars will be out next on the racetrack as Loza makes his way through into the first corner. Might as well talk about Meyershank, Rob, because although they're not a rookie car as such, it does appear like in the last couple of races they've been kind of in the mix with the Manor and Vipers, really, which is a little bit strange to say, really, because you would have thought they'd be a little bit higher up in the midfield, but clearly not this season.
Yeah, sometimes they have the moment, sometimes they don't. But yeah, sometimes they're just nowhere near everyone else, and they're just pretty much alone, and even fine with the Manors and Vipers.
Yeah, indeed, and well, it's not really been the best of seasons for Meyershank. They'll be looking to see if they can do anything in these final 4 races. La Rosa comes out of the Schumacher S now then before he makes his way down towards the left-hander. So now coming towards the right-hander, we'll go on Francesco La Rosa in the Manor. Let's see what his second sector is like compared to Cassidy, and he's 2 temps up in that middle sector. So La Rosa, as long as he can keep this up, he should go to the top of the timing sheets for the meantime, but we will wait and see. As La Rosa now then going around the chicane through the left and through the right he will go now then, as he now makes his way towards the final corner in the FedEx Manor now then. The final turn and onto the pit straight will go the Italian. Can he go to ahead of Cassidy? Across the line he will go, and yes he does, by half a second. So up to the top of the timing sheets goes La Rosa on a 1 minute 32.13 hours. Here is TJ Papero, who is next to do a flying lap. Now, of course, this is the last European race of the season for World ChampCar, of course, because the last 3 races after this will all take place in Asia, of course. We'll obviously have the Yeognam, which will be round 10 at the Korea International Circuit in South Korea. Then, of course, the final 2 races will both be in Japan, with round 11 being at Fuji Speedway and round 12 being at Suzuka. So, but I think at this stage, Ra, I think looking at the championship at the moment, as it's going the way at the moment, we're probably not going to need there's probably not going to be a title decider at the moment, because at the moment Bruno de Barros has got quite a comfortable lead at the top.
Yep, indeed. It could be decided at Korea, or it could be decided at Fuji. We'll see what happens, but yeah, time will tell. No.
Indeed, so as you look at Papero now then, who looks like he's made a similar error to what his teammate did in the first sector there. So maybe the Meyershank clearly struggling with that corner right there. But either way, TJ Papero 13 thousandths down in the first sector. Maybe the Meyershank seemingly struggling a little bit in that first sector now as Papero makes his way through the hairpin, I think it's called the Dunlop hairpin if I'm not mistaken, as up the hill through the Schumacher S now then goes Papero, as his first sector got a little bit compromised, but we saw Cassidy was able to pull it back in the last two sectors, and Papero currently going quicker than Cassidy at this stage, but let's see what his second sector is going to look like after that little error. And his second sector, he's 2 tenths down in that middle sector, but still I would think he's quicker than teammate Cassidy at this stage, as Papero now making his way towards the chicane now then, through the left and then through the right-hander now then he will go before he makes his way into the final corner now then, which is the Coca-Cola curve. And let's see where Papero is able to place his Maya Shank racing car now then. Papero, across the line he will go, and he goes into second place, 4 tenths off, but does get ahead of teammate Cassidy at this stage. Next up is Yuri Gabriel in the Viper racing car, and well, after many races of retiring, he finally managed to finish last time out at Monza.
Yeah, but still, unfortunately, no points. But yeah, of course, finally finishing a race. But yeah, it's been a season to forget for Yuri Gabriel.
It has indeed, and definitely one that Brazilian will definitely want to forget about and move on to next season, hoping he'll still be in World Champ Car next season, judging from the sign-up that I saw from him the other day. Of course, a reminder that the sign-ups are currently open for World Champ Car in 2022. Bartosz Bracki will be the next car out on track, so Yuri Gabriel's teammate will be next to go out on the racetrack, as Gabriel through into turn 2 he goes now then, flicking it through the left-hander, as he'll now make his way towards turns 3 and 4 on the racetrack. Through the right-hander now then he will go. Quite a quick right-hander, it's fair to say. The drivers do tend to use a lot of the AstroTurf on the outside, really, because apparently that's not classed as track extending in racing, really. Apparently that's the normal line. 3 tenths down on the Rosa in the first sector, not exactly ideal for the Viper. So the Mano may have had the edge on, might have the edge on the Viper so far in this, and probably looks like it's going to be, because it's going to be a bit tricky to try and gain 3 tenths back in the last 2 sectors. Out of the Dunlop hairpin we go now then, before Yuri Gabriel makes his way up through the Schumacher S now then, through the left and through the right, a flat out section of corners now then, as he now makes his way down towards the left-hander, flicks the car in, as he misses the curb on the outside there. A lot of people seem to be doing that. Here is now Gabriel out of the second sector he goes, and he's 6 tenths down in the middle sector. And I think it's fair to say this has not been a very good lap for Gabriel, and it looks like he's going to slot in last at the moment, slotting in behind Kim Sung-min at the moment. So it seems that the Viper of Gabriel just not having the pace around here at the Nürburgring, even to the Meyer Shanks, who both made a mistake in that first sector. Anyway, Gabriel now then, just coming out of the Coca-Cola curve, and Gabriel across the line he will go, and he slots to 5th, 8 tenths off of La Rosa. Not a very good lap indeed, nearly 3 tenths off of Kim Sung-min. Let's see if Bartosz Bracki has the same sort of issues as what Yuri Gabriel has had, or whether he's able to find some time, and Gabriel maybe just setting up the car a little bit wrong. Let's see. Bracki through the final turn he goes now then, in the second of the 2 Vipers now then, as he uses the curb on the outside, making his way down the straight, and Bracki starting his lap. The next car out on track will be Alex-Eric Lucien in the Peugeot, as Bracki now then down towards the first corner he goes now then, around the hairpin then, using a bit of tarmac on the outside. Of course, in the top class, let's not forget back in 2013 where we had that pile up in the first corner, which involved a load of championship contenders in that corner. And of course, Bruno de Barros will be hoping there'll be no issues for him at that first corner. In fact, that's the only time I think we've had a pile up in that first corner. I mean, we've had crashes there before, but not to the extent where they've been pile-ups. Bracki, meanwhile, is up on La Rosa in the first sector, so that could give an indication that maybe Yuri Gabriel just hasn't really got the setup right around here at the Nürburgring, and clearly seems to be struggling for pace around here at this circuit, as Bracki now then just goes around the Dunlop hairpin now then, before he makes his way up towards the Schumacher S now then, flicking it in for the left and right, and then now then we will go, as the Polish driver making his way towards the next section of corners now then, flicking it in through the left and then into the right hander. In fact, he's made a little error there through into the right hander there, and it's kind of cost him through this section, so I wonder if the middle sector is going to get compromised as a result, and he's 36 thousandths down on La Rosa in the middle sector, so he probably could have still been purple without that mistake in the middle sector. Let's see what time Bracki can do then in this last sector. Through the left and right chicane now then he will go, before he makes his way towards the Coca-Cola curve now then. Bracki now then round the right hander he goes now then, and now down the straightaway is Bracki going to place his Viper, and he goes into second place. Had he been able to hook up that middle sector, probably could have been a bit quicker there,
Yep, indeed. Cost the error there from Bracki, but yeah, it is what it is for him.
Indeed. So, and yet, Flo, that is also a memory of that first corner, what Will Neller did at that same race, where he basically barrel rolled and somehow didn't get any damage and was still able to finish in second in that race. It was a bit of a strange moment, that was. But anyway, here is Alex Lucien now then in the Peugeot. I mean, he had, it's fair to say Lucien had a very good opening race of the season, and a lot of people saying maybe one guy to keep an eye on in terms of the rookies who are in the field. But so far this season, but since then, he just seems to be struggling, and it just seems like Toby Holloway's just had the pace on him as a result.
Yeah, it seems. And Lucien, currently 14th in the championship, but yeah, hasn't scored that much points. I mean, Holloway has been consistent with points in the low end of points, so it's good for Holloway. But I mean, Lucien, not ideal, but of course he would want to get points.
Speaking of Lucien, he's actually half a second up on the Rosa, but you would expect that, of course, because his car is a lot more quicker than the Manners, the Vipers, and also it seems the Meyershanks as well. So you would imagine his car would be set up more better than what the guys who have done a lap have already done. The next driver who'll be out on track will be Balint Zolga in the BMW Pyramid Racing. And of course, as mentioned earlier, of course, Pyramid Racing will no longer be the main BMW team next season, of course, because of the partnership that McLaren is having with them in the top class. They're also going to be having a similar partnership to them in World ChampCar as well. They're going to be known as the BMW Arrow McLaren SP next season. Pyramid Racing will still have the BMW engine, but will just be known as Pyramid Racing and will no longer be the main team. So it does make you wonder if Zorbach and Zolga end up staying at World Champ Car, providing they don't go to other series. Will they stay around at Pyramid, or will they try to go to McLaren? That's going to be an interesting one. Lucien, as expected, way quicker than La Rosa, 1.4 seconds quicker, or 1 minute 30.669. He now goes to the top of the timing screens. In fact, that's a pretty good lap for the Peugeot driver. Be interested to see what his teammate Toby Holloway does a little bit later, and also what this guy can do in some top machinery. Here is Balint Zolga now then, the BMW Pyramid Racing, and didn't have the best of races, it's fair to say, at Monza. After a run of good races before that, it seemed like he'd gone back to the wilderness at Monza, and we'll be looking to see if he can put that behind him here at the Nürburgring as he makes his way out of the final turn and onto the pit straight. Zolga now then starting his flying lap, as the next driver on track will be Rubino Gonzalez in the Scuderia Ferrari. As Zolga now then making his way down towards the first corner now then, as he flicks the car in through the first turn using a bit of AstroTurf on the outside there. Through the left-hander he goes with turn 2, as he now makes his way towards turns 3 and 4 on the racetrack now then, as he flicks the car in for the left and then into the medium speed right-hander. Well, it's quite a quick one, but I think it needs a lift of acceleration out of there. Let's see what his first sector is like compared to Lucien, and he's 3/10 up in the first sector, so maybe what you would expect from machinery like this as he comes out of the turn now then, making his way down towards the Dunlop hairpin now then, as Zolga now then making his way through the long swooping right-hander now then of the Dunlop hairpin, and now up towards the Schumacher S. Then will go the Hungarian, flicking it in for the left, then through the right. Of course, in real life, that's where Lewis Hamilton had his tyre blowout back in 2007. So quite, if you go off there, then it's more likely going to be a high-speed crash that you're looking at there. If you have a blowout, that is, or some kind of failure. Not necessarily if you go off. Anyway, Zolga continuing to set purple sectors. He's now 6/10 up on Lucien in this middle sector, so as long as he doesn't make a major mistake, he should comfortably go to the top of the timing sheets. But let's see. Zolga now then towards the final corner. He will go now then into the final turn and onto the pit straight now then will go Balint Zolga in the BMW Pyramid Racing. Zolga across the line, and he goes 8/10 quicker, breaks into the 1:29s, a 1 minute 29.810. Next up is Rubino Gonzalez in the Scuderia Ferrari, as Zolga, very good lap from him, it's fair to say there are.
Yep, indeed. Good luck for him, of course. Considering that he hasn't been where his teammate has been, Storbeck has had a great season at the moment. He's currently 4th in the championship. Zolga, of course, currently 11th. If he wants to try and get to where his teammate is.
Indeed, as next up on track will be Frederick Soper in the Carlin. Just want to quickly check something, in fact. No, my headphones are fine there. I thought for a minute my headphones had gone dead. But anyway, Gonzalez has just started his lap there now then in the Ferrari. As obviously Ferrari, of course, embroiled in a very big scrap with BMW Pyramid for third in the team's championship. And so far come into this race 9 points behind them. Although Gonzalez has set a first sector that's a little bit worrying for the Ferrari. 4 tenths down in the first sector compared to Zolga, and we have seen this a few times so far this season. Their qualifying has been, it's safe to say for Ferrari this season, their qualifying has been very inconsistent.
Yeah, the qualifying has been inconsistent, and I think looking at this lap, I won't be surprised if Gonzalez will end up behind Lucian.
Indeed, as Rubino Gonzalez now then coming around the right-hander as he now comes up towards the end of Sector 2, and he is 9 tenths down in this middle sector, so he's even going slower than Lucian at this point, and it looks like he's going to slot into third place here. So seems so far we haven't seen what Thompson has been able to do, but if this is an indication, I think Ferrari could well struggle around here in terms of qualifying here at the Nürburgring. Anyway, Gonzalez out of the final turn and onto the pit straight he will go, and across the line goes the Spaniard, and he goes into third place, 1.1 seconds off of Zolga. That's a very, very poor lap from the Ferrari driver there, and I think he's probably going to have a lot of work to do in the race, Ra.
Yeah, indeed, a lot of work for him, and yeah, not ideal for Ferrari at all.
Certainly not. Now we're looking at Frederick Soper in the Carlin now then, as Soper now then crosses the line, and the next driver on the track will be Jordan Howell in the McLaren, as Soper now then making his way down towards the first corner. Carlin have had a relatively okay season, although it's fair to say in the last 2 races they haven't scored a point, which hasn't been great for them at the moment, because so far they find themselves tied with Peugeot in the team's championship, and they'll want to stretch that advantage if they can, because I don't think they'll want Peugeot to overhaul them in the team's championship. As Soper now then making his way towards the end of the second sector. Let's see what his first sector side, and he's 8 tenths down in the first sector, so already way off of Lucian, and it looks like Soper's not on for a very good lap at this stage, as he now comes out of the right-hander down there, making his way down towards the Dunlop hairpin now. Then he flicks the car in through the right-hander now, then he will go, as he will now make his way up the hill towards the Schumacher S quite soon now then. Flicking the car in through the left and through the right now then. Let's see what his second sector will soon look like once he comes around these left and right-handers now then. Quite a quick section of corners, although not exactly corners that you want to take, you want to lift at. You still need to require a little bit of braking, and 2 seconds down in that middle sector. That is not a very good lap for Frederick Soper, and I would not be surprised if he actually ends up behind the manor of Francesco La Rosa here, maybe even the Viper of Bartosz Bracchi if he's not careful, because so far this is not looking like a very good lap for the Carlin driver. Soper comes out of the Coca-Cola curve, down the straight he goes, and he goes into 6th position. So yeah, not a very good lap for Soper there, and well, a lot of work to do for him.
Yeah, we need a good lap from him behind La Rosa and Bracchi, nearly losing us to Papero as well.
Yes, indeed, and it'll be interesting to see if Mutka's going to be struggling as well, or whether it's just a case of Soper's just not set up the car correctly. Anyway, Jordan Howell next up on the track in the McLaren, halfway there in terms of the runners competing in this qualifying session, and of course in the race a little bit later on, hopefully around 4:45. Of course, this race, obviously this will all get wrapped up before the Formula 2 qualifying session over at Sepang, so don't worry about that one. As next up on the track, speaking of which, will be Simon Mutka, who will be next on the track, so we'll get an indication to see whether it was set up related for Soper, or it's generally the Carlin maybe struggling around here at the Nürburgring. Be fascinating to see on that one, as the Howell now then making his way through the left and then into the right hand, and he will go using the curb on the inside, and let's see what his first sector is going to look like compared to Zolga, and he's 6 tenths down in that first sector, so not exactly ideal, but still quicker than what Soper was able to achieve a little bit earlier. I'm not sure if Howell just had a little bit of a flick there coming around the right-hander, so maybe that could prove a little bit costly. We'll have to wait and see. on that one. Hello, everybody who has just joined us in the stream chat, who's only just joined us. Just thought I'd say hello there. Hal coming out of the Schumacher S now in the flat out corner, as he will now make his way through the left and right hander now then in the Arrow McLaren SP. Of course, this team will be having BMW engines next season, as officially confirmed with the sign-ups that have been opened yesterday. So you would imagine McLaren will be hoping to get a little bit further up the grid in 2022, and given that what BMW have been able to do this season, it could raise some eyebrows for McLaren next season. It'll be fascinating to see what Pyramid will do without that partnership, but still with the engines, if you get what I mean. Anyway, Hal coming out of the final turn and onto the pit straight he will go, and Hal crossed the line to go into 4th position. He slots in front of La Rosa there, but still around 6 tenths behind Rubino Gonzalez. Next up is Simon Mutka. Now, of course, we talked about earlier that Soper seemed to struggle on his lap there. Let's see what Mutka's able to do, because if he's able to struggle, then could be a long afternoon for Carlin.
Yeah, he could be separated, or it could be down to the car. We'll see once Mutka finishes his lap.
Toby Holloway in the Peugeot will be next out onto the racetrack. His teammate Lucien currently in 2nd place, 8 tenths though off of Balenciaga. We're still yet to see some of the championship, the leading drivers yet to go out onto the racetrack. As Mutka now then making his way through the left and right hander now then. And let's see what his first sector is going to look like compared to Balenciaga now then. As he is 2 tenths down in the first sector. So, as I say that, he's made a big mistake there. You saw the car there just twitch there, and he's made a big lock-up. I was going to say that it seemed maybe a setup issue for Soper, because Soper was way off in that first sector, but it looks like Mutka may have thrown this one in the bin, Ra.
Yep, indeed. That means a lot of work will have to be done for Carlin in the race later on. So, yeah, very bad news for Carlin there.
Indeed so, as Mutka now they're making his way through the left and right hander now. Then let's see how much time he's lost thanks to that mistake he's made coming towards the end of the second sector, and he's 1.1 seconds off of Zolga. He's lost a lot of time, 9 tenths to be exact, because he was only 2 tenths off of Zolga in the first sector, but now a massive 1.1 seconds off. That mistake really costing the Polish driver there, and I think he's going to probably slot in around about 4th position maybe, because there's a bit of a gap between Gonzalez and Howe, as you can see there, as Mutka crosses the line, and yep, he does go into 4th position. But what could have been had he been able to hook up those corners there? But that's the thing with one-shot qualifying. You only get one chance to do it, and if you mess it up, well, that's your lap done with. There's no second chances. Meanwhile, here is Toby Holloway now then in the Peugeot. And, of course, we mentioned that he's had the pace to Lucien this season, and he has been a very good qualifier this season as Toby Holloway. So whether he can do that in this session, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, his teammate currently in 2nd place, over 8 tenths ahead of, behind Balenciaga. So whether Toby Holloway can get in between the pair of them, or maybe even go quicker than Zolga, we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, Holloway starting his lap now then in the second of the 2 Peugeots, as Florian Volker in the McLaren will be the next driver out on the racetrack. The 5-time top class champion will be next to go out on track, as Holloway now they're making his way out of the hairpin now then, as he makes his way up towards turn 2 now then we go. In the car in through the second corner, as he'll now make his way towards turns 3 and 4 on the racetrack now then. Through the left and then into the right hand, and now then we'll go Holloway in the Peugeot, as he will now make his way towards the end of the first sector. And let's see what it's like compared to Zolga, and he's 3 tenths down in the first sector, so I'm not expecting him to beat Zolga, but we'll be interested to see what his second sector is like in comparison to where his teammate is overall. As mentioned, his teammate 8 tenths behind Zolga at this stage. It'll be interesting to see whether Holloway has the pace to maybe beat Lucien, or maybe Lucien may have the pace on Holloway in this track. Who knows? As Holloway makes his way up through the Schumacher S now, then making his way towards the left and right-handers, these medium speed corners now, then flicking it in for the left and then into the right-hander now, then we will go. As he will now make his way towards the end of the second sector, let's see, and he's 8 tenths down in that second sector, so I think he's actually going to slot behind Lucien. So I think Lucien might actually have the pace to Holloway in this race, but we will see. I think Holloway, if he can hook it together, I think he will slot in front of Rubino Gonzalez and get into 3rd place, but let's see. Holloway through the final turn and onto the pit straight now, then he will go in the Peugeot, and across the line He goes into third position, only just ahead of Gonzalez, those 16 thousandths separating the pair of them, but he does slot behind his teammate Lucien. So Lucien actually having the pace on Holloway in this session. Here is Florian Volker, meanwhile, in the McLaren, the only McLaren driver to have scored points for the team this season. Now we know he's in contention for to try to return to the top class, of course. Haas and Alfa Romeo, of course, are the teams that he's linked to. But if he doesn't make it back to the top class for next season, and he ends up staying at World ChampCar, and he ends up staying at McLaren, given the whole thing with BMW, he might be looking at that as a good opportunity, Ra.
Yeah, he might do, or he might move elsewhere, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens later on. We'll see if he can pick up good results, and we'll see what his future lies on.
Yep, next up on the racetrack will be, I think that's Gabriel Gomez who's going to be next out on track, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it will be, because he didn't have the best of results at Monza last time out. And he's half a second down on Zorga in the first sector is Florian Volker. His teammate Howell is currently 1.7... Excuse me, as I had a bit of a frog in my voice there. It's still there. Sorry, talking too much. As mentioned, Howell 1.7 seconds off of Zolga at the moment, so you could say that McLaren may be struggling around this track, but we'll see as he makes his way up through the Schumacher S now then, making his way towards the medium speed left and right-hander now then. Getting it in for the left and then into the right-hander now then we go, as he now makes his way towards the end of the second sector, and he's 1.2 seconds down in that second sector. So I think he is going to slot in front of Howell, but it just seemed like the McLarens may be struggling a bit around here at the Nürburgring. Not great for Florian Volker, given that this is his home race, of course, here in Germany. He is obviously the home favourite here at Germany. Of course, they've also got Nicolas Zorbach in the field as well, who'll be looking to do well in front of his adoring fans here at the Nürburgring. As Volker now then crosses the line, and he goes into 6th position. So, yeah, McLaren seemingly struggling at the moment. He does get in front of Howell, but just under 0.2 of a second covering the two McLaren drivers there. Here is Gabriel Gomez in the Andretti. Of course, he won at Spa, let's not forget, but in Monza, wasn't exactly the best of races for him, finishing in 8th. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he actually got damage at Monza, but made a recovery to 8th position. But certainly a race that he'll want to forget straight away, Ra.
Yeah, indeed. And considering he is 5th in the championship. Yeah, considering that he just been overtaken by Zorbag, who finished 2nd in that race in the championship. Yeah, not ideal. And he is one of the championship contenders, but it's a long shot for him.
I think you could say he's easily an outsider in this championship, it's fair to say. But of course, he has said he is committed to World ChampCar. He's got no plans to return to the top class. His future is in this series. So clearly he has big aspirations here in World ChampCar. Next driver on the track will be fellow compatriot Joao Pedro Kirby. And I think it is fair to say... I think I might have mentioned this when the news came out that Chip Ganassi. In fact, we'll get to that when we get to Joao Pedro Kirby, because I've got a little bit to say about him, especially a comment that he mentioned about his team yesterday. I'll get onto that in a little bit. But anyway, Gomez 3 tenths down on Zolga in the first sector. Bit surprising there. Usually Andretti show up in the qualifying Ra, but it seems Zolga's got Gomez in the first sector.
Yeah, indeed, but we'll see when the Pesquis come in. I mean, the Pesquis could be the real deal here, but we'll see if Zorga's lap is enough.
We'll see. Anyways, Gomez now then making his way towards the end of the second sector now then, and he is 6 tenths down in the middle sector. And, well, if he doesn't hook up this last sector, he could even slot behind Lucien here, which will not be great at all as he makes his way through the chicane. Let's see what the Brazilian is able to do now then, as Gabriel Gomez now then coming around the final corner and onto the pit straight now then will come the 2017 DTM champion. Gomez across the line, and he goes into 2nd place. He does manage to get in front of Lucien, but 7 tenths off a balanced Zolga. That's not what you would expect from an Andretti. Even if they did fall behind BMW, you'd think they'd be a little bit closer than that, but 7 tenths off a Zolga. Bit alarming there. I'll be interested to see what Zorbach does a little bit later on. Anyway, here is Joao Pedro Kirby in the Chip Ganassi racing car, and as mentioned, when the news came out yesterday that Chip Ganassi Racing would be switching to Mercedes engines for next season, it's safe to say that JP was a little bit cautious about it. It's safe to say he had some concerns about the switch, because he's a little bit worried, given what we've seen with Manor and Viper this season, that Chip Ganassi could fall back next season, Ra.
Yep, indeed. Yeah, Yeah. Considering that where he is, of course, he has gotten some points. He also has gotten a podium this season, but yeah. Um, he has some concerns. He could even consider leaving the team, but we'll see what happens.
Indeed so. Kirby 3 attempts down on Zolga in the first sector. I think he's actually a little bit quicker than Gomez in that first sector. So maybe Gomez just couldn't really hook up the lap very well, or maybe the Andretti seems to be struggling around here. It will be very interesting to see what happens when we see Igor Peter go out a little bit later on. As Kirby now then makes his way through the flat-out Schumacher S now then. His teammate Zachary Fitzwater will be out next on the racetrack. So the two Chip Ganassis going together really, back-to-back. Here comes Kirby now then through the right-hander as he now makes his way out of the second sector, and he is 7 attempts down in the middle sector. So it seems now that Gomez has been able to gain some time on Kirby in that middle sector. So he could slot in between Gomez and Lucien, providing he hooks up the last sector, but I think it's more likely he's going to end up behind Lucien and in front of Holloway. But let's see. Kirby now then around the final turn of the Coca-Cola curve, and the Brazilian making his way onto the pit straight and across the line. He will go now then, and he goes into 4th position. So yeah, he does fall behind Lucien, but does get in front of Toby Holloway. Here's his teammate Zachary Fitzwater in the Chip Ganassi racing car, and he hasn't really had anything to say about the switch that Chip Ganassi is saying, unlike his teammate. So maybe just basically, what's the one I'm looking for? Basically, just maybe staying a little bit optimistic, or maybe just keeping his thoughts to himself, really. I'm not sure. But anyway, Fitzwater now then, through the left-right chicane he will go, as the Australian will be soon starting his lap quite soon, as Fitzwater now then goes around the Coca-Cola curve now then. And Fitzwater is about to start his lap very soon. Across the line he will go, and Fitzwater starts his flying lap. Next up on the track will be Sam Thompson in the Ferrari, and that will be a lap I'll be very curious to see, of course, because Gonzalez did not have a very good lap, of course, earlier on in the session. So I'll be curious to see whether it was set up related for Gonzalez, or maybe he just couldn't hook up a lap together, or whether the Ferrari seems to be struggling around here at the Nürburgring. That's something I'll be quite curious to see. Anyway, Fitzwater through the left and right hand, and now then he will go, as he will soon be approaching the end of the first sector. What's it going to look like compared to Balint Zolga? And he is 6 attempts down in the first sector now then, as he now makes his way through the right-hander, as he now makes his way down the hill towards the Dunlop hairpin now then. As Fitzwater now then, through the right-hander he goes, and let's see what his second sector will be like quite soon, as he's coming up now towards the flat-out left and right-hander now then. His teammate Kirby was able to get into 4th place on his lap, but let's see what Fitzwater's middle sector is going to look like compared to Balint Zolga now then, as he now makes his way towards the end of the second sector, and he's 1.3 seconds down. So I think it's fair to say he has not got the pace compared to Kirby, and it seems the Chip Ganassis may be a little bit off the pace around here at the Nürburgring. It's been a bit of a case for him this season, to be quite honest with you, and of course maybe some concerns that they might drop back a bit next season, given they're having Mercedes engines. But anyway, Fitzwater across the line he will go now then, and he goes into 10th position. He actually slots behind the two McLaren drivers, 5 thousandths slower than Jordan Howe there. Now, this is the lap I'm interested in. It's Sam Thompson. Of course, we talked about that Gonzalez did not have a very good lap, and it'd be interesting to see if that's going to be the same case for his teammate here, Sam Thompson, who's now preparing to start his lap very soon now then, as he goes around the flat-out right-hander before making his way up towards the left-right chicane now then. In the car in for the left and then into the right-hander now then he will go before he'll make his way towards the last corner, which is the Coca-Cola curve. Around the right-hander he goes now then, as he now makes his way onto the pit straight, and Thompson now then will start his flying lap here. And the next driver on track will be Igor Peter in the Andretti. So it'd be interesting to see what his pace is like compared to Zolga, given his teammate, Gabriel Gomez, is 7 tenths off of Zolga and currently in second place. Thompson now then, through into turn 2 now then he will go before he makes his way towards turn number 3 now then on the racetrack, flicking it in through the left and then into the right-hander now then we will go. He flicks the car in, using a bit of tarmac on the outside there before he makes his way down towards the medium speed corners. And his first sector, he's 3 tenths down in the first sector. So I think that's fair to say that is quicker than what Gonzalez was able to achieve in that first sector, because I think if I'm not mistaken, he was actually half a second off of Zolga in that first sector, if I'm not mistaken. So Thompson definitely quicker than teammate Gonzalez through into that first sector there. Coming out of the Dunlop hairpin, there he goes, as he now makes his way up towards the Schumacher S now, then through the left and right-hander now, then he will go, as he will now approach the medium speed left and right-handers through the left, and then into the right-hander now, then will go Sam Thompson in the Ferrari, and let's see what his middle sector is like compared to Zolga. And he finds himself 9/10 down in that middle sector. So, in fact, he's lost a lot of time in that middle sector there. So, maybe a case of Ferrari could be struggling around here at the Nürburgring. And that's not how you hook up that chicane, Sam Thompson. That is a bit of an error there from the Ferrari driver. So, he's made a mistake there going through into the chicane. Quite a bit of understeer there, maybe feeling that the car was going to lock up. So, I think that's going to drop him a bit further down the field. Thompson across the line,
11th.
and he only goes into 11th as a result of that mistake. 2.2 seconds off of Zolga. But even before that mistake, it does appear Ferrari seem to be struggling around here.
Yep, indeed. It's not looking good for Ferrari, and not ideal at all.
Time. Here is Igor Peter now then in the Andretti, of course. His teammate Gabriel Gomez, 7/10 off as... I don't know. I noticed what's going on there. So, yeah, we
no.
had... I think that we had this problem at Monza, if I'm not mistaken, with these graphics. But anyway, as long as well, it's not going to be too much of an issue because we'll see the result when we get back to the menu anyway. Nobody's had a time tied at the moment. So anyway, Peter starting his lap. Next up on track will be championship leader Bruno de Barros now then, as Peter now they're making his way down towards the first corner now then, as using a bit of tarmac on the outside there. And I'll be interested to see what the gap is like between him and Zolga, because of course, as mentioned, Gomez 7/10 off of Zolga at this stage. Through the left-hander he goes now then, and then into the right-hander now then we go. And let's see now then what Peter's first sector is going to look like. And he's 2/10 down in the first sector. So he's up on Gomez, because I know that for a fact that Gomez was actually 3/10 down on Zolga in that first sector. So Peter definitely up, but he's still down on Zolga. So it's definitely seeming like Zolga's got some very good pace at the moment. And, well, if Zorbach's got some good pace, then I think it's fair to say that maybe Pyramid could actually do well at BMW's home race, Ra.
Yep, indeed, but also you can't underestimate the Penske's because they're still in this. They don't know what the Penske's can do.
Indeed so, Penske have been masters of qualifying so far this season and so far been the class of the field. Anyway, through the second sector, half a second down in the middle sector for Igor Peter. So I think it's going to be quite close between Gomez and Peter. I think Peter will just slot in front, but it's safe to say that Zolga has definitely got some pace compared to the two Andretti cars. Anyway, Peter now then, coming up towards the Coca-Cola curve now then. Let's see what he's able to do. Through the final turn and onto the pit straight now then will come Peter, and across the line he will go, and he goes into second place. He goes into second, 6/10 off of Zolga, but does slot in front of Gomez. So it's definitely clear that Zolga's got some very good pace. He's got a guaranteed top 4 place on the grid as a result. Next up, though, you talked about it, right? The first of the two Penskes. Let's see what they're able to do compared to Balint Zolga now then. So de Barros, the championship leader, the first of the two Penskes to do a lap. Of course, he hasn't had a win now since Silverstone, really. And he's obviously gone 2 races now without a victory. And maybe he could be, he's probably desperate for another one, but we will see anyway. As long as he keeps himself out of trouble, he has got the comfortable lead in the championship. I think he just wants to stay out of trouble and try and win this championship if he can. De Barros now then, out of the Coca-Cola curve he comes now then, down the straight, and de Barros starting his lap. Next up on track will, of course, be Nicolas Zorbach in the BMW Pyramid Racing car. Now de Barros making his way down towards the first corner now then, as through into turn 1 he goes now then, now into turn 2. He will now go as he flicks the car in through the left-hander. And now heading towards the next section of corners. Now then we go through the left and then into the right-hander. Now then we go, as now let's see what de Barros' first sector is like compared to Balint Zolga now then. De Barros approaching the first sector right now, and he's 71 thousandths up in the first sector. So he's purple in that first sector, but it's only by 71 thousandths. We've seen that Zolga has been able to gain a lot of time in that middle sector. So we'll see if de Barros is able to keep it up in the second sector now then, as the championship leader makes his way down towards the Dunlop hairpin now then, as he flicks the car in using the curb on the outside, as he now makes his way up towards the Schumacher S, flat out through the left and then into the right-hander now then he will go, for making his way towards the left-hander now, then flicking it in for the left and then into the right-hander now, then he will go. And let's see what De Baus is able to do then in the second sector. De Baus, his second sector time, and he's 1/10 up on Zolga, so he's keeping it up, and he's definitely going quicker than the moment. As long as he hooks this up, he should be able to beat Zolga to the top of the timing sheets. The championship leader now then through the left and right-hander now then comes the championship leader Bruno De Baus now then, heading towards the Coca-Cola curve now then through the long swooping right-hander. Is De Baus going to go to the top of the timing sheets? Down the pit straight he goes. Bruno De Baus across the line he will go, and he goes to the top by 3/10 of a second. De Baus to the top with a 1:29.467. Of course, we've still got 2 more cars to do a lap, and one of them is of course Nicolas Zorbach, and then the last car to do a lap of course will be Bartosz Kloss in the second Penske. Of course, Kloss winning last time out at Monza, so of course he's going to be the last to go out onto the racetrack now then. Zorbach now then just coming out of the right-hander as he'll be preparing to start his lap, yes, but either way, pretty good. Even though he hasn't got pole, well, good qualifying for Zolga.
Yep, indeed, good qualifying for Zolga. You got up in second at the moment, but we don't know if he'll be either third or fourth, or if it's remain in second. But we'll see what happens when Zolberg and Kloss finish their laps.
Indeed, as obviously, as mentioned, Bartosz Kloss will be the last car to set a lap around here as Zorbach now they're making his way down towards the hairpin now then, using the tarmac on the outside before making his way up towards turn 2 now then, flicking it in through the left-hander and now making his way towards the next left-hander on the track through the left and then into the right-hander now then he will go. Let's see what his first sector is going to look like compared to Bruno De Baus. Let's see what the German is able to do in the first sector, and he's 51 thousandths off of De Baus in the first sector, but I do think he's around 200 up on Zolga in the first sector now then, so he could still pull it back in the second sector on De Baus, but we will see. But he is up only just on his teammate Zolga in the first sector, because De Baus of course was 71 thousandths quicker than Zolga in that first sector. Zorbach now then heading up towards the Schumacher S. The German fans of course will be cheering him on to try and see if he can get a good qualifying slot on the grid. Zorbach now then making his way towards the medium speed left and right hander through the left and then into the right hander now then we go now then. And let's see what Zorbach's second sector is going to look like. And he's 15 thousandths up on De Baus. He's actually now purple in the middle sector. This is going to be very, very close between De Baus and Zorbach on this lap now. Then the German fans cheering Nicolas Zorbach on as he makes his way through the left-right chicane now then. Heading his way towards the Coca-Cola curve. Can he beat De Baus to the top of the timing sheets? Through the final turn and onto the pit straight goes Nicolas Zorbach in the BMW Pyramid. Can he go to the top? Zorbach across the line. No, he can't. He just misses out by 200ths of a second. Wasn't able to hook it up in the last sector, and Zorbach not able to grab pole, but what a lap for Zorbach nonetheless. So it does mean that a Penske will be on pole position, but it's a case of which Penske will be on pole. Will it be championship leader De Baus, or will it be Bartosz Kloss in the other Penske? We will wait and see now then, as Kloss now then making his way towards the left-right chicane now then, as he will be starting his lap very, very soon now then, as the winner of Monza now then comes around the final corner and onto the pit straight he goes as the Haas test driver. He's going to start his flying lap and see if he can try and beat teammate De Baus. He starts his lap now then, making his way down towards the first corner now then he will go on the racetrack now then, as he now makes his way through the first corner and now making his way towards turn number 2 on the racetrack. I will be having to swap my headphones after this this qualifying session because these ones are starting to die on me a little bit. I got some new ones for my birthday recently, so and they also have Bluetooth connectivity and they also run on charging batteries. So yeah, we'll have to swap in just a little bit. But anyway, for the first sector, Kloss 1/10 down in the first sector now then as he makes his way through into the next right-hander on the racetrack now then, coming down the hill towards the Dunlop hairpin now then he will go. Plus now then, through the right-hander now then he goes, as now he will make his way towards the Schumacher S now then. Flat out through the left and right-hander he will go. Through the left, then through into the right he goes. Let's see what his second sector will be like once he comes out of these next 2 corners that he's coming up towards. Through the left, then into the right he will go. What is his sector time going to be like compared to teammate De Baus now then? Heading down the hill he will go now then, and he is 3/10 down in the middle sector now then, and it doesn't look like it's going to be a front row lockout for Penske, because I think Zorbach's going to be ahead, and if he's not careful I think Zolga could also be ahead as well, so we could be looking at 2-3 for the BMW Pyramids here. Kloss now then into the final corner and onto the pit straight He will now go. What can the Polish driver do? Down the pit straight, across the line, goes the Monza winner, and he goes into fourth. He slots behind Kloss, and that means that Bruno de Barros is once again on pole position for the race here at the Nürburgring. A great session indeed. So here is the full result then. De Barros on pole, with Zorbach in second, Zolga third, then Kloss fourth, Peter in fifth, with Gomez sixth, Lucian in seventh, with Kirby in eighth, Holloway in ninth, Gonzalez in 10th, with Muka 11th, and you can do the rest, Ra.
Yeah, we have Floyd Walker in 12th, Jordan Howe 13th, Zachary Fitzroy 14th, Sam Thompson 15th, Francesco La Rosa 16th, Fortius Bracchi in 17th, with Frederick Sopa in 18th, TJ Pepero in 19th, Thomas Cassidy in 20th, Kim Sung Min in 21st, and Yuri Gabriel in 22nd.
Indeed. Well, Yuri will now go and sort out the grid, of course, because, of course, we had a mistake rate on for this session, so do bear with. But whilst he's doing that, I will swap my headphones around and also get the tweet prepared for Twitter, so apologies if I go a bit silent for the moment. Okay, I'm back. I've now put the tweet up. First of all, can I hear Ra for starters, because I have switched my headset?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear Ra, that's good. Okay, so yes, so of course Bruno de Barros is on pole position, and for the third time this season he has taken pole in a World Champ Car, but apart from the two BMWs who qualified second and third, good qualifying for the two Peugeots, 7th and 9th for Ra.
Yeah, indeed, the McLarens. Great qualifying for them, and also the Zachary Fitzroy as well.
Said the two Peugeots, not the two McLarens. But anyway, Anyway, it's not because I don't think it's been the best of qualifying for the McLarens either. But anyway, 7th and 9th for those two. So whilst we wait for Yuri to get the grid sorted out for the race and to have the correct mistake rate, we've not been able to see the strategies just yet about this race. So it'll be very interesting to see what that will look like. I'm pretty sure Yuri will drop that in the chat when he can. But of course, we might as well talk about some things as well. Of course, I mentioned at the top of the show as well that, of course, because of issues on my end, unfortunately, the highlights for the top class will be no more, I'm afraid. But what I didn't mention, of course, is the fact that it does now open the door for something else to happen, of course. It does mean now that we can have live commentary for top class races. So when the time comes that somebody wins a title in that series, we'll get a live reaction from the commentary, which is a bit, which will be nice. But yeah, from the Malaysian Grand Prix onwards, we will start to have live commentary for the races, and they will not be unlisted anymore. So from now on, well, it's been going on since Belgium, of course, because of the issues I had. But from now on, of course, the live races, the live streams for the races, will not go unlisted after a race. So I guess that's a plus to some of you guys, especially those who are making playlists. Starters, can anybody hear you, Yuri? Because I don't know if.
No.
Okay. Okay, so we've just been given some information there, and I think I might have missed out on the pit stops there, the pit stop window. But I do know it is 50 laps. This race is, and did you catch the pit window there? Because I was kind of lost in translation there, in terms of going into a bit of a staring into space a little bit on my end.
First pit stop window would be lap 10 to 20, then second pit stop window lap 40 to 50. We can ask you again. Oh, 30 to 40, yeah.
30 to 40, the second pit stop.
Yeah.
Was that 10 to 15 for the first pit stop you said there, or was it 10 to 20?
10 to 20.
10 to 20. Okay, so 10 to 20 for the first pit stop, and then 30 to 40 for the second pit stop. So that's that 50 lap race. So 10 laps shorter than what the top class usually do whenever they race around here, because they normally do 60 laps around here. So hopefully it should be quite an interesting race. This should finish, of course, before the F2 qualifying session at Sepang, so don't worry about that. The races don't typically last as long as the top class anyway. It's usually about an hour or so. An hour under this race usually lasts for World ChampCar, so don't worry about that. But it'll be very, very interesting indeed. Of course, they've got the home favourite, Nicholas Zorbach, on the front row of the grid in the BMW Pyramid Racing, and he'll be looking to see if he can try and win in front of his home crowd. And we've now got the grid back up on your screen. Here we go then. So, to recap then, for those of you who've just joined us, this is what the grid looks like. We'll go 4x4 like Rob likes to do in F2. So, Bruno de Barros is on pole position with Nicholas Zorbach in second. Balenciaga is in third with Bartosz Klos in fourth. It's BMW Pyramids and Penske is locking out the first four positions on the grid.
We have Igor Peter in fifth with Gabriel Gomez in sixth, Andretti third row with Alex Eric Lucien in seventh in the Peugeot with Joao Pedro Kirby in eighth in the Chip Ganassi.
Toby Holloway is in ninth in the second Peugeot with Urbino Gonzalez in 10th for Ferrari. Simon Mutka starts in 11th with Florian Volker in the Arrow McLaren in 12th.
In 13th, we have Jordan Howe in the other Arrow McLaren with Zachary Fitzwater in the other Chip Ganassi, Sam Thompson in the other Ferrari in 15th with Francesco La Rosa in 16th in the Manor.
Marcus Bracchi starts in 17th with Frederic Soper disappointing 18th in the Carlin. TJ Papero will start in 19th with Thomas Cassidy down in 20th, and on the back row of the grid, Ra?
Tim Sonmin in 21st in the Manor and Yuri Gabriel in 22nd in the Viper.
And as you can see, the weather could get a little bit interesting because we could have rain towards the end of the race, but we will see. But for the most part, it will be dry. So, without further ado, let us get underway then for the 50-lap race here at the Nürburgring. It should be a good race indeed, and I hope you guys in the stream chat are looking forward to it as well. So here we are then on the grid then here at the Nürburgring. It is the Barros on the right of your screen and Zorbach on the left. As you can see, Yuri tried to sort out the graphics during the break, but clearly it hasn't worked out for him. But anyway.
Oh,
okay,
no.
All is incorrect, as you can see. So, bit of a restart here. So, Just bear with, guys. We have a little bit of an issue with the fuel, so we'll restart it. I don't think we'll want to have another repeat of what happened at Silverstone with 3 of the drivers in that race. So yeah, so let's get those fuel. Let's get the fuel correctly sorted and to see what happened, and then we'll get underway with the race. Really. So anyway, so as I was saying there, Ro, a little bit earlier, of course, Zorbat will want to do a good job in front of his home fans, given he's on the front row.
Yep, indeed. Because he's doing so well in the championship, he's hoping to probably leapfrog Kloss and Peter in the championship. He could be second in the championship after going into Korea.
Indeed, so indeed, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out when we get to Korea, of course. For anybody wondering, we've just had a little bit of a delay to the start because there was a little bit of an issue with the fuel, so we're just getting that fixed before we can get back underway. But before we get the series started, of course, not back underway. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, so we will wait for the race to get underway in just a little bit. And of course, a pretty good qualifying overall for BMW Pyramid Racing. Of course, Penske on the front row of the grid. Of course, De Barros, for anybody who is curious, of course, De Barros cannot win the title here because we've still got 3 races left after this one. But providing he does a good job here, I think Ro alluded to it a little bit earlier on. Providing he does a good job here at the Nürburgring, he could have a chance to win it at Yehognam in 2 weeks' time. So it will be interesting to see how that one plays out. Because coming into this, of course, De Barros has a 34-point lead ahead of Igor Peter in the championship, and he's got a further 10-point gap to De Barros' teammate Bartosz Bracchi at this point, and further 5 points to Nicolas Zorbach, and a further 3 to Gabriel Gomez, and then there's a bit of a gap between Gomez and Thompson going into this race. So we will just wait and see, and so we'll wait and see how that one develops, of course. You may have seen as well, I alluded to it a little bit, but we have got the thumbnails now back for the OC. Of course, it has been a while since you've seen these thumbnails, but they are back. They are slightly different than what they were before, but some people have said they look a lot better than what they did previously. So I'll take the compliment there. So anyway, so that's that really. We're just waiting for the race to get underway once the fuel issues have sorted itself out. And we'll wait as we wait to see how this race is going to unfold. Hopefully the weather will be a little bit similar as well to what we were supposed to have earlier on, because we were meant to have originally, before we realised the fuel issue, we were meant to have rain towards the end of the race, or potential chance of rain towards the end of the race, but for the most part it was going to be dry. So yeah, we will wait and see how that one happens. But anyway, as we wait for the race to get underway once the issues sort out, so do bear with, guys. And we think we've got it sorted now, as we've got the stream back on the screen. And this time there is no rain at all, but I think it's fair to say, right, it was probably not going to rain anyway, because it was towards the back end of the race. But anyway, hopefully the fuel issues have sorted itself out. Let's quickly double check to see if the fuel issues have sorted itself out, and I think they have. Okay, clearly not, because it seems Gonzalez has still got the same fuel issues. So there's something not right with the coding. Just bear with again. Just bear with again. It seems that there's still some fuel issues going on. It seemed the first 9 cars were okay, but it seemed that Gonzalez still had the same fuel issue. So let's see what happens. So let's see if we can sort this out this time by. It should be a dry race this time by, because of course Yuri has sorted it out to be a dry race. So that's that. So bear with. It seems the fuel issues seem to still be a bit of a problem at the moment. So anyway, just like I said, bear with, guys. Don't go anywhere. We should be underway in just a little bit. For some reason, Yuri just can't seem to get the fuel to work on his end at the moment. So doesn't seem to want to play ball at the moment. It seems to be. So we wait to see as we wait for the race to get on the way. Of course, a reminder as well, whilst we wait, of course, for anybody who is only just joined us, of course, the 2022 World ChampCar sign-ups are now officially open. They opened yesterday night, so if you haven't signed up yet and want to, then feel free to do so. Only the entrance series now that's yet to be open. We're still kind of waiting to see what sort of format that will be in terms of how drivers get assigned to the entrance series for next season. So Yuri is obviously having way before this was having a bit of debate how he was going to do it, whether he would do it in the same way as how he's done it for this season's entrance series, or whether he'll do it slightly differently. We will wait and see on that. Okay, fair enough. Anyway, I'll not repeat that. But anyway, so we'll wait and see really if I say if when we get underway. Of course, the F2 qualifying session will be on in 2 hours, but even with these delays, I think this race will get finished way before then. I think, unless we have a severe delay, then it could run into a bit of overtime, and F2 will have to wait.
Oh no! Oh, someone stop that net.
So anyway.
God damn it, Dennis. Pomod alkoholisi lapseta sola.
So anyway, wait to see what goes on.
Yes, you are the boss. This permitting.
So we might have to wait and see if we might have to have some drivers with one stop or not, but like we had at Silverstone. So we'll wait.
Unfair advantage.
So anyway, let's wait and see if the problem can get fixed, or whether or not we'll have to put up with it or not. So just bear with, guys, and we'll hopefully get the race started quite soon. Let's just wait and see. So, just bear with, guys. A bit hard to try and think of something to talk about when we're waiting for a race to get underway, as you could probably imagine. Can't envy a lot of commentators in real life having to do this. So they've got probably the hardest job in the world when this happens in real life. So
yes.
So
especially when it's wet.
Yes, as we saw in real life at Suzuka. So yeah, just bear with, guys, and hopefully we can get this race underway. So so wait and see. And of course, we know what happened last time at Silverstone. Yuri actually told me there was actually a value that was actually incorrect with Silverstone, but it seems with this one it's a little bit more complicated than what it was at Silverstone when we had those 3 drivers on a one stop. So yeah, so let's wait and see what happens here, really. So
damn it, well, gentlemen, a short feedback to the past.
So
recent Nürburgring race.
So let's just wait and see. Apologies if I go a little bit silent, guys, but you can imagine that hard to come up with something really. It's, my stream on my end on the YouTube stream decides to mess around a bit with me there, so apologies for that. Yeah, let's just be patient, guys, and hopefully we'll get the race underway. So apologies if I go a little bit silent for the moment.
Yes.
Finally. We've finally managed to get it sorted, so we should have the stream back on our screens quite soon. So there we go. I think we might already be on the grid from the looks of it. Yes, we are. So, and he's already got the graphics sorted as well with the right font. So anyway, let's take 3 on this, shall we? So anyway, De Barros on the right of your screen, Zorbach on the left. Who is going to get the lead into the first corner? It's going to be an interesting run in towards that first corner now then as we wait for the lights to go off. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and finally, after many attempts, his lights out, and away we go here at the Nürburgring. A fantastic start for Bruno De Barros. It looks like Zorbach may have been bogged down a little bit at the start, as now Zolga is looking like he's going to come past him into the first corner. It looks like Peter's on a very good start as well. He looks like he's got up to 3rd place. An awful start for Zorbach. Zolga up to 2nd. Zorbach trying to get back at Peter into the first corner. Can everybody keep it clean into that first corner as De Barros keeps the lead into the first corner? Got a bit of a gap to Zolga. Zorbach was able to hold on to Peter into that first corner. Has everybody kept it clean? Let's have a look. Any damage in the first corner? Yes, there is. There has been a crash at the first corner. And I think there's another car as well that went up as well. In 21st, it's Jordan Howe, the man who's still yet to score points this season, is out on the first corner. There was damage as well for, I think, one of the Meyershank racing cars. Yes, Thomas Cassidy has got damaged, so I think he's got himself involved in that first corner shenanigans as well. But, yeah, a bit of chaos at the start. Let's see what happened, Ra.
Yeah, but started. It was a separate incident with how it could be, but we'll see. Yeah, it was. No, it's the same incident.
Yeah,
Just domino effect.
Yeah, I think it was Cassidy that caused it. He went into the back of Kim Sung Min, which in turn meant he then ended up going into the side of Howe. Howe and Min were just passengers in that accident, so already caused there by Cassidy into the first corner there. Maybe just a little bit too eager on the brakes. Down the inside goes Peter on Zorbach. He's up into 3rd place. A brilliant move down into the Dunlop hairpin, and now go Peter up into 3rd position as now Zorbach under pressure from Gabriel Gomez in the Andretti as the yellow flag's now showing for the first corner incident that happened. So no overtaking into that first corner, otherwise you will get a 5-second time penalty for overtaking, as it looks like Lucien has not had the best of starts as well. He's down to 9th position, but already 2 cars out on the first lap. Gabriel trying to keep up with the rest of the pack as Cassidy having to trail back to the pits. His race probably down the toilet as a result of that. Maybe a strategy change needed. But look at Zolga starting to close up as meanwhile Zorbach having to defend a bit from Gabriel Gomez going into the chicane there. As it looks like Gomez has got Holloway all over the back of him now. Is Holloway going to try and go into the Coca-Cola curve? No, he's not. He's going to stand back for the moment. But in the end of lap 1 then, it is De Barros who leads. Zolga close behind in 2nd with Zorbach in 3rd position. Peter in 3rd with Zorbach in 4th. Then it's Gomez 5th and Holloway in 6th. No overtaking to the first corner, otherwise you will get a penalty. It looks like Alone's going single file except Klaas, and I think that's going to be a penalty. It is going to be a penalty, I think, for Barcic Klaas. He's overtook. 5-second time penalty for Barcic Klaas.
Someone else.
To the first corner. Did Fitzwater overtake into the first corner? Because he was behind Lucien before starting.
No, that was it.
He overtook him beforehand, so Fitzwater is fine. Does anybody else overtook into the first corner? And I think the answer to that is no. I think Klaas was the only one.
I think I did see someone else pass into turn 1.
Maybe
he was right at the back, but yeah.
It was only Klaas. So Klaas is the only one to overtake, so he's got a 5-second time penalty for overtaking at the yellow flag zone there, as the yellow flags have now cleared. So you could have just waited a little bit longer, Klaas, and it would have been a legal move, but unfortunately, it's going to be 5 seconds added on at the end of the race for Barcic Klaas. Meanwhile, as we've just seen there, Thomas Cassidy now into the pits to repair his front wing, and so that's that really. So as we look at the back of the pack, you can see that Soper has not had the best of starts even. Meanwhile, back to the top 2, as it seems they're starting to get away a little bit from Michael Pickett, but Zolga has got some very good pace, it seems, and it seems that he could be challenging for the in the early part of the race here. As you can see, De Barros having to go quite defensive into the chicane. Could Zolga potentially try and line him up into the first corner? The yellow flags are now gone, so if he is going to go for an overtake, the overtake would be legal. As now coming around the Coca-Cola curve, is Zolga close enough to get De Barros? I'm not sure. I think De Barros might just have a gap to stay in front of Zolga. De Barros, in fact, actually setting the fastest lap now, 1:30.566. Zolga wasn't able to respond to that, so De Barros maybe starting to respond a little bit to Zolga's pace in the early stages, but surprisingly surprisingly incredible pace for him at the moment. Meanwhile, Thompson now on the inside of this is who is that? That is one of the McLarens. That is Volker who's getting by there, and Thompson up into 13th position, getting the move done there on Volker. But some brilliant early lap pace from Balint Zolgar.
Yeah, indeed, he's keeping the Rouse under pressure here. Can the Rouse keep the pressure? We'll find out.
It seems that Ra's got some sneezes going on at the moment. There is, meanwhile, unseen by the cameras, Kirby has actually got 7th back off of Barcher's Kloss. So back up to 7th place goes Joao Pedro Kirby. It seems Kloss really struggling in the early stages of this race. Started in 4th and he's dropped down to 8th. As a result, as you can see, Fitzwater gaining the most at the start, gaining 5 places at the start. But it looks like Kloss, I think, has actually got Kirby back, judging from that leaderboard. And then Kloss is back up into 7th place. Must have got him into the hairpin. Soper trying to go for a similar move there on La Rosa, but it's not going to work out. La Rosa just going to hold on for the moment. Meanwhile, Gomez all over the back of Holloway now, then in the fight for 5th, as it looks like Zolga has caught back onto the back of De Bauer now. Then 3 attempts again. The gap between the top 2 now, then, as now Gomez on the back of Holloway. Is he going to try and have a go into the right-hander? The answer to that is no. And now is he going to try and go for it into the chicane? No, he's not. Thinks about it a little bit better as Fitzwater now trying to go on the inside of his own teammate. And luckily they managed to keep away from each other there. Look like Gonzalez was trying to go for a similar move there on Lucian, but Fitzwater again trying to look to the inside. Not going to work. What's going on at the front of the field? Is Zolga close enough to get a hold of De Bauer? It doesn't look like it, judging from the mini-map. So I think De Bauer is still ahead of Zolga at this point, but Fitzwater, he's going to have a go at his teammate into the first corner. Meanwhile, Gomez on the inside of Holloway, not going to work. Down the inside goes Fitzwater, and that is P number 8 there for Fitzwater. Up into P8 goes the Australian. A fantastic opening lap for Fitzwater, considering he qualified quite low down.
Yep, indeed. He's redeeming himself from bad qualifying, and he's doing well in the race so far.
So as Peter is still losing touch to the top 2, even though they're fighting, Peter is just losing ground to them all the time at the moment, but still keeping his distance at the moment. It's around 1.8 between himself and the battling 2 at the front. Zolga not being able to get close enough to pass the Bowers at this point in time. It's coming out of the Dunlop hairpin now, then we'll go Peter in the Andretti. Meanwhile, Thompson trying to have a go on the inside of Simon Mutka now into the hairpin. Is he going to get the move done? And the answer to that is yes, he is. Up into 12th place goes Sam Thompson in the Ferrari, and looking to make up for what was a mistake that happened in qualifying, which saw him only down in 15th. Holloway has a moment going through to the left-hander there as he was close to the back of Nicholas Zorbach there. Looked like he had to maybe jam onto the brakes a little bit, but he's got to be careful because he's also got Gomez behind. So this is now a three-way scrap for 4th position. Zolga's taking the lead. Zolga's taking the lead from Tabas. He got him at the chicane, and Zolga into the lead of the race. Let's see how he did it. It looks like it's just a simple move into the chicane. He was right in the solution, the Brazilian, and Tabas didn't even think about defending it, keeping it cautious, and Zolga into the lead of the race, Ra.
Yep, the great move by Zolga. Takes the lead of the race away from Tabas. Good job. He took his chance, and he took it well.
Movement going on. Meanwhile, Kloss is now caught up to this slot as well, so it's now become a 4-way scrap. 4-4 position as Gomez now right onto the gearbox of Holloway, but Holloway will also have the benefit of Zorbach's slipstream in front to try and stay in front of the Andretti, but it might not be enough because Gomez is closer to Holloway than what Holloway is. To Zorbach down the inside goes Gomez. Can he get the move done this time on the Peugeot driver into the first corner? He's trying to have a go. Holloway trying to stick with him there, but it's not going to be enough. Gomez up into 5th, and is Kloss going to take full advantage? Yes, he is. Holloway wasn't able to get good enough traction. Kloss said thank you very much and takes 6th place with ease there. So opportunistic there from the Polish driver.
Yep, indeed. Petro's catching. Ooh! Air time.
Bunny hopped the curb there as it looked like somebody actually overtook. No, in fact, it was actually him actually overtaking the Rose. It might be just a simple case of maybe he's outbreaking himself here, Ra.
Yep, indeed. We're going to see it again here.
And,
yeah, he really did.
Well, in fact, it looked like he actually had oversteer coming out of the exit there after he overtook La Rosa, and well, it seems to have paid the price because he's bunny hopped over that curb. Luckily, he has not sustained some damage. We have seen in previous series where if you bunny hop that corner, you can sometimes get some damage. So luckily for him, he did not sustain any damage on that occasion. But meanwhile, Gomez now on the back of Zorbach. Can he potentially get a run on him into the Dunlop hairpin? Let's see. Gomez onto the gearbox of Zorbach. He's on the inside. Can the Brazilian get the move done into the hairpin? He's trying to break that a little bit later. There's just enough of a gap on the inside, and Gomez up into 4th position. A good move there. Now can he get away from this train?
We'll see. Peter will see the gap between him and the barrels. He's still there, but don't know if it's enough.
While La Rosa all over the back of Bracky now, then in the fight for 16th position. Meanwhile, Lucian making a bit of an error as he's got Kirby right behind. In fact, Kirby's dropped a load of places since we last saw him. He's now down to 10th position. In fact, seen by the cameras, he actually got overtaken by Lucian because, of course, we saw him get overtaken by teammate Fitzwater earlier. Meanwhile, the Team Ferraris are into combat behind us. Kirby, contact between him and Lucian there, but luckily nothing major, nothing that we see in the touring car races. But it looks like Gonzalez is going to take full advantage of this, and I think he's got 10th place with ease. Yes, he has. For some reason, the camera cut away from that as Soper bunny hops the curb through the chicane there. But but up into 10th. I've been getting Soper and Mutka confused throughout the entire race.
Mutka's through on Thompson. That's why I saw on the leaderboard.
Alright, so anyway, Soper just running around the back of this train at the moment. So reminder, of course, the pit stops. The first round of pit stops will come around about lap 10 to 20. So do remember that. So around 4 laps away from that. And Zolga getting away a little bit, but it's still under a second. Meanwhile, Kloss, unseen by the cameras, has passes Zorbach. Kloss up into 5th position. He's got the move done on Zorbach, and that's P5 for him. Can he now get a hold of Gomez for 4th position? Is it now looks like it's Holloway's turn to try and overhaul Zorbach, who's been stuck behind for a little bit before those two came into play and spoiled it. And it looks like Fitzwater is now closing onto the back of these two.
Yep, indeed. Fitzwater looking to have great pace here. He could have a shot at probably getting top 5 here, but we'll see.
Yeah, indeed, as La Rosa trying to have a go at Bracky into the hairpin there. Not going to work out. Meanwhile, hello, Bruno, who's just joined us in the stream chat. Bruno de Bauer joining us there in the stream chat. As through the Schumacher as they go, running on board Balint Zolga now, then in the BMW Pyramid, and getting a bit of a gap between himself and de Bauer. Meanwhile, battle still going on between Bracky and La Rosa. La Rosa just can't seem to find a way through on Bracky at this stage of the race. Now, there's... Oh, Gomez has got a problem! Gomez has got suspension failure, and Gabriel Gomez is out of the race. And Andretti definitely chucking away the T-Championship because Penske are going to pull away even further because of this as a result, I think. And Gomez, who was running in 4th, all that hard work down the toilet, Ra.
Yep, indeed. And it's really, really bad news for him, unfortunately. And well, when you said he was an outsider, he's definitely not going to be in this championship at all.
And it was a suspension failure. Came out just at the chicane, and Kloss just not needing a second invitation and took full advantage and going up into 4th place. So who does that now put in the points of the result? That now puts who is it now? Not Mutka, it's Kirby.
No, Kirby, yeah.
Thompson, speaking of Mutka, Muka's having to defend off from Thompson, who was trying to have a go into turn 1 there, but it wasn't going to work out as Holloway has passed Zorbach. Unseen by the cameras, Holloway has got the move done on Zorbach. And meanwhile, it looks like La Rosa has finally got the move done on Bracky, and he has. La Rosa up into 15th. Looked like initially he went a little bit deep into the first corner there, but he has now got the move done. And up into 15th goes Francesco La Rosa, as now Bracky's got his teammate Yuri Gabriel right behind, and also of Frederick Soper, who's just behind this lot as well, as it's now 1.3 seconds between Zolga and de Barros. And it says a lot there for Zorbach. I think it's very clear that Zorbach is definitely struggling on this first stint, Ra.
Yeah, indeed. That was no idea for him in front of his fans here at Germany. Yeah, not ideal for him. And your Fitz was right there.
Yeah, Fitzwater really trying to put Zorbach under a lot of pressure around here, and maybe could try and land him up for a move into the chicane, perhaps. Here is Peter looking quite lonely in 3rd position as he makes his way through the left-right chicane now then. But what's going on behind, I'm not sure. Soper's still stuck behind the 2 Vipers at the moment. He's not really progressing as much as we expected him to in that car, and he's definitely really struggling around here. He was struggling in qualifying earlier on, and it seems again he's struggling. Thompson looking at Mutka, but again having to bunny hop the curb to avoid contact between him and Mutka. And now Volker trying to pick up the pieces and try to re-overtake Thompson, who passed him a little bit earlier on in the race. Can Volker try and retake the position of Thompson? Though it looks like Thompson may have got better traction coming out of the turn there. Fitzwater's still not been able to get past Zorbach. Meanwhile, he's still stuck behind him at the moment. The battle for 6th still continuing. It looks like Volker having to go defensive though, because I think there is somebody right behind him at the moment as he's having to defend into the first corner there. So he's having to hold on to that for the moment. As now Zolga up in the gap now to 1.6 seconds between himself and de Barros. Meanwhile, Gabriel has got the move done on his teammate Bracky. So up into 16th goes Yuri Gabriel in the second Viper there, and Ken Soper now try and get a hold of Bracky and maybe actually gain a place in this race. It'll be interesting to see. So through the right-hander now then we'll go the 2 Viper cars now then. As you look now at Balint Zolga now then, he's continuing to stretch his lead out in front. Meanwhile, Soper again trying to have a look at Bracky in the car in there, but it's not working out well. Soper's still stuck behind what you could say the back marker cars at the moment. Is he going to try and get the move done into the hairpin this time? He's on the inside, but again, in fact, no, he is going to this time, and finally Soper gets the move done and up into 17th place. Goes the Carlin drivers. Thompson again now all over the back of Simon Muka as the fight for 11th still continues here.
Yeah, indeed, this battle was interesting so far, but we'll see what happens. Oh, Holloway's out!
That's a loose wheel. A loose wheel is taking care of Toby Holloway. So another driver in the points has got a mechanical failure, and roughly around the same place where Gabriel Gomez had his mechanical failure. Another wheel related, only this time it's a loose wheel this time, Ra.
Yep, indeed. He also had a pit call, so he could have made it back, but no, it was too terminal, and unfortunately he was so to stop the car.
Yeah, indeed, Holloway out of the race, and we're now down to, I think it's now 18 runners now, if I'm not mistaken. We've got 4 retirements in this race, but another retirement at that chicane, although the issue seemed to come just before he arrived at the chicane. So, another driver in the points out of the race. So, I think that now puts Mutka into the points of the result, and who has obviously got Thompson all over the back of him, trying to get that final points place off of him at this stage. The gap nearly 2 seconds now between Zolga and de Bauer at the front of the field. As it seems that the gap between Peter and Kloss, I'm not 100% sure because you didn't see the gap last time, but that was only the gap between Peter and de Bauer, and it stayed pretty similar in the first sector, 2.5 seconds between de Bauer and Peter. Of course, they are the top 2 in the driving. In fact, the top 3 are actually in 2nd to 4th at the moment at this stage of the race. So. A bit of trivia there for anybody wondering, but Zolga continuing to stretch the lead out in front at the moment. Meanwhile, Thompson all over the back of Muka. Can he try and get the final points place into the hairpin? He's going to go for it down the inside, and he's got the move done. Up into 10th place goes Sam Thompson in the Ferrari, and he's now into the points-paying positions. Meanwhile, just behind, it looks like Volker is under pressure from, I think, TJ Papero behind in their fight for what is 12th position. But now, Thompson finally back in the points, Ra.
Yep, indeed, back in the points. Right, let's see if he can get back to where his teammate is, who's in 8th, and see if he can catch up to Kirby. As always been overtaken by Fitzwater. Fitzwater's up to 5th.
Fitzwater looks like he got the move done at the chicane there, so up into P5 goes Zachary Fitzwater in the Chip Ganassi racing car. Is now Zorbach, who's continuing to struggle on this stint, has now got Alex Eric Lucien all over the back of him, and also Rubino Gonzalez in the 2nd Ferrari. And now Lucien trying to have a go at Zorbach into the first corner. Zorbach having to close the door, but Lucien already there into the first corner. Keep it tidy, boys, into the first corner. It's Lucien
yellow flag.
Yellow flag into the chicane. It's TJ Papero. Papero out of the race, and that looks like a crash has happened at the chicane. Now, he was fighting with Florian Volker a little bit earlier on, so did it have something to do with Volker, or did it have something to do with someone else? Or was that just a pure driver error? I'd be very interested because it's not a mechanical failure. That is a crash. Nothing has come up on his steering wheel. So I wonder if he had something to do with Volker or maybe with another car. Let's see. And it did look like Volker had something to do with it.
No, he must have lost that wheel on the curb, I think. It must have been that. No, I don't think anyone was behind him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it looked like Papero there maybe took a bit too much curb and it's damaged his car. Basically disintegrated half of the rear end there.
Yeah, indeed. And the fact that no one was behind him pretty much gave it away. And yeah, you could say costly error, but no, I mean, not really avoidable. But yeah, you tried to go for a move, it didn't work, and he had no other choice but to take so much of the curb.
Meyer Shanton Racing will be wanting to have a word with him about that one because that was a bit of a clumsy error from TJ Papero. But we're now down to 17 runners as a result. We just saw there Lucien was trying to have a go at Zorbach into the Dunlop hairpin. It wasn't going to work out. There is still yellow flags out there, so no overtaking allowed at the chicane until they clear TJ Papero's stricken Meyer Shank Racing car that has been left there as a result of his costly mistake there whilst battling with Florian Volker. Anyway, Lucien now then all over the back of Zorbach. He can't overtake here though because it is a yellow flag and he has to stand back at the moment. He did look like he was going to try and maybe go for it into the chicane, but realised yellow flag was there, so he had to hang back as a result. So maybe he's got to wait for the pit straight to see if he can try and get Zorbach back. He was a bit later on the brakes there compared to Zorbach through the Coca-Cola curve there, so whether or not he'll try and go for it into turn 1, we'll wait and see. But I think Zorbach's just got enough of a gap to stay in front as a direct result to that. So Zorbach just going to stay in front for the moment as Gonzalez just watching on, basically having front row tickets for this to see if any of them make a mistake and see if he can try and capitalise on any of these situations. So there is Thompson now then, who is trying to close up to Kirby if he can in the fight for 9th position. 2.8 seconds now the gap between the top two as Frederick Soper is into the pits for some reason. Why is Soper into the pits? Unless that is a scheduled stop, because I think we are on lap 10 and it is a scheduled stop. So the first round of pit stops are underway, and Soper, who was down the field, is the first man to make his pit stop. I didn't realise that we've actually passed the lap 10 mark, so we are now into the pit stop stages of the race now then. So of course lap 10 to 20 is when we'll see these first round of stops getting on the way, and the second round of stops lap 30 to 40s. Meanwhile, Zorbach and Lucian now then continuing to fight for 16th. Soper rejoined down in last position. Cassidy, of course, maybe we'll have to do 2 extra stops because, of course, he pitted on lap 1 for damage earlier on after causing a crash on the first corner with both with Kim Sung Min and Jordan Howe. Meanwhile, Lucian, the yellow flags have now just about cleared, so Lucian can go for the move into the chicane if he wants to. They only just cleared just as they were approaching the right-hander. Lucian trying to go a little bit later on the brakes if he can, but not enough to get alongside, and Zorbach just going to hold on for the moment now. Then where is Gonzalez in all this? Gonzalez does not capitalize on this, and as a result has to hang back for the moment as they now make their way onto the pit straight now then, and as a result of it, as Lucian's actually coming into the pits this lap. Lucian, because he tried to go for the move in the chicane, cost him all the momentum in the world, and as a result not able to get Zorbach into the first corner as a direct result. De Bauers is not pitting at this stage. I wonder when Zolga is going to be pitting. That's what I'm curious to find out, as Zorbach looks like he'd made a bit of an error through into turn 2 there, and it's allowed Lucian and Gonzalez to catch up to him yet again at this stage of the race. Fitzwater continuing to pull away from Zorbach as a direct result. Of course, we know that Lucian is coming into the pits this lap, but can he potentially pass him before the pit stop for him happens now? Then let's see if Lucian on the back of Nicolas Zorbach, could he potentially try and go for a move into the hairpin? He can't, as Thomas Cassidy meanwhile comes into the pits for his second stop, his first scheduled stop, of course. Not the first one was, of course, impromptu because of the damage. Thompson now all over the back of Kirby, wasn't able to get the move done into the hairpin there, and has to hang back behind as a direct result. Meanwhile, Lucian again trying to have a go as Zorbach not going to work out. As look at this now, Kloss is now all over the back of Peter, tried to have a go into the chicane there, didn't work out, and has to hang back as a result, and has now lost all the momentum in the world and has to remain there. Zolga has stayed out a little bit longer, so he's not coming to the pits just yet. We know that Lucian is, and he's battling with Zorbach, so he can't get him on track, so he's probably going to have to try and jump him in the pits. Alex Eric Lucian now in the Peugeot, now into the pits for his first of 2 scheduled stops here at the Nürburgring now then, as he now makes his way into the pit lane now then, and let's see how quick the stop is going to be then for the Peugeot mechanics as he now makes his way in pit lane now then. Lucian into the pits as he looks for his mechanics, which are just down there. In fact, it is quite a slow pit lane here at the Nürburgring, so obviously something to take into account of that. A very, very slow pit lane here at the Nürburgring as Lucian now pulls into his box now then, and let's see how quick the stop is going to be then from the Peugeot Sport mechanics as they put on a fresh set of tyres, and of course it is a 2-stop, so as expected, everybody doing a 2-stop. I think Cassidy might be doing a 3-stop though, judging from the fact that of course he did sustain damage on lap 1, so I think it's going to be a 3-stop for him. As De Bauers now then, as you can see, making his way through the right-hander. Yuri Gabriel meanwhile and the Viper was coming to the pits, but meanwhile we're interested in this fight going on between Igor Peter and Bartosz Kloss now then. Of course these two fighting for second in the championship, only 10 points separating them coming into this race. Peter of course being ahead of Kloss coming into this race. Both of them have only had 1 victory this season. Peters came at the first race at Indianapolis, and Kloss's came at the last race at Monza. So round the right-hander we go. Is Kloss going to try and line up for a move again into the chicane? He tried earlier on to get the move done into the chicane, but it didn't work out. Can he maybe go for it this time by now? Then Kloss in the slipstream of Peter. He's going to go to the inside. Peter doesn't put up too much of a defence, but it looks like Peter's going to leave it late on the brakes, and as a result holds on to it. So clearly Peter definitely better on the brakes there compared to Kloss. You could say maybe Kloss maybe a little bit too cautious. Lucy meanwhile on the fresher tyres up into 13th. He rejoined 14th after his pit stop, but not wasting any time and gets up into 13th position on the fresher tyres now then. So be interested to see if he could try and get the jump perhaps on Zorbach as Thompson tried to have a go at Kirby there into chicane, but just like with Kloss and Peter, it didn't work. Fitzwater meanwhile in the second Chip Ganassi car is now into the pits. So Zachary Fitzwater is now into the pits for Chip Ganassi as his teammate Kirby under pressure from Thompson. In fact, Thompson's very close to try and get a hold of Kirby into the first corner now, and he's in the slipstream. He is looking to the inside. Kirby only at the last minute is going to defend as Ken Thompson try and get a little bit later on the brakes into the first corner. Oh, contact there, and that's what you class as a bump and run. Thompson maybe a bit impression, but a bump and run there. And Thompson up into 7th place. A bit aggressive, but he finally gets the move done, Ra.
Yep, indeed. He had to go for it the aggressive way, and he did. As Kloss going for the move on Peter. Peter's coming in, but he fails to get the move done.
Peter is coming into the pits first off, so clearly struggling, it seems, around here. But Kloss will be looking to try and take advantage of this. He's actually staying out for an extra lap, so we'll be seeing if we can try and make that one work. But Peter will be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. None of the top 2 yet have made a pit stop, that being Zolga and Bauer at this stage. As now coming out of the right-hander now, then we will go. As they now come around the flat-out right-hander and now approaching the chicane, then we'll go. Will Kloss try and get the move done on Peter before he comes in. Peter defending the inside straight away and not letting him through as, well, Kloss having to take a lot of curb there as a result. But Peter now into the pits for Andretti Autosport. So Kloss will now be free to try and see if he can push and try and see if he can jump Peter during these first round of pit stops. Meanwhile, Gonzalez now all over the back of Zorbach. Now it's his turn to try and put Zorbach under pressure. We saw Lucien was doing it a little bit earlier on. Peter, though, into the pits for Andretti. Let's see how quick this stop is going to be then from the Andretti mechanics. He puts on a fresh set of tyres, and of course, 2-stop race for him, like with everybody else in the field. And we're on lap 15 of the race. Very long stop at the moment for the Andretti guys at the moment. That's a very, very long stop. 11.4 seconds. That's a very, very long stop indeed there. Maybe going for a slightly longer second stint, I wonder. But anyway, that's a very long stop for Igor Peter. Yeah, 25.9 litres of fuel. Going to lap 40, going right to the brim, it seems. So yeah, looking like a very long stint for Peter as he's going to come out just behind Florian Volker in 10th position there. And, well, he's going to get a little bit held up, I think, as a result of that. And Kloss could take full advantage of this. I wonder if he'll try and go for a bit of a shorter stint, Kloss, I wonder. So maybe take full advantage of this. Oh, Fitzwater's made a mistake into the first corner there. As I think he was battling with Lucien, he was. Fitzwater was on the back of Lucien. In fact, Lucien actually jumped Fitzwater in the pits, as you can see. Fitzwater was going for the move into the first corner. He got the move done, but just like what we saw earlier on with, I think it was... It was La Rosa, wasn't it? It just looked like he got some oversteer coming out of the exit, Ra.
It was so far, I think, but...
Was it contact?
Yeah, it was a contact.
Yes,
Might have been, yeah.
Yeah, there is a little bit of contact there. You can see Lucien also losing the back end. So, yeah, I think there may have been a bit of contact there. Maybe a little bit cheeky from Lucien there, but clearly no malicious intent there, it's fair to say. Meanwhile, Volker under pressure from Peter, who's of course on the fresher tyres. So I think Peter might be able to clear Volker pretty quickly once they get down towards the hairpins. Meanwhile, Gonzalez across the back. Gonzalez up into 4th place. He got the move done at the Dunlop hairpin, as you can see. And Gonzalez has been able to pass Zorbach up into 4th position. As we see there that Mutka is coming into the pits lap. Peter, surprisingly, not able to get the move done on Volker on that occasion through to Dunlop hairpin. But he's got better traction than him due to the fresher tyres he's got, but not able to get him up the hill through into the Schumacher S now then. Is Peter going to try and go for it into the left-hander? He thought about it, but he's not going to go for it. As a result, as they now make their way down towards the right-hander, flicking the car in through the right and getting some brilliant traction on Volker there, although he is going pulling off quite early there to try and get the move done into the right-hander. Not going to work, and as a result, he's not going to be able to set himself up for the chicane. Maybe he'll get him down the pit straight. Mutka now coming into the pits for Carlin. Gonzalez coming into the pits this lap for Ferrari, so he's going to be pitting as Mutka's in. As meanwhile, Peter's still stuck behind Volker at this stage of the race now. Then as they come down the pit straight, and Peter now all over the back of the German. He's going to go to the inside. Can he get the move done on Volker? It should be an easy move for Peter. Down the inside he goes into the first corner. Is this the move done? And yes, it is. Peter up into 8th position there. So P8 going the way of the Brazilian, and with the fresher tyres he will go through, and I would imagine he will also pull away from Volker as a result. De Bauer still not blinking yet. He's still not pitting at this stage. What about Zolga in front? Is he going to be pitting this lap, or is he going to stay out? Yes, he is. Zolga, the race leader, is pitting this lap then. So De Bauer will take the lead temporarily, but will hand it back to Zolga once he makes his first pit stop of 2 here at the Nürburgring. As now Zolga into the chicane now, then through the left and then into the right hander now, then will go the Hungarian as he now flicks the car into the right and into the pits. Then comes Balint Zolga in the BMW Pyramid racing car. So into the pits now then he goes, as he will now make his way towards the pit limiter, which he has activated now. De Bauer will take the lead temporarily, and let's see how quick this stop is going to be then for Balint Zolga in the BMW Pyramid racing car. as he now pulls into his box. There is somebody else pitting as well this lap. We believe that is obviously Gonzalez who's pitting this lap in the Ferrari. We know he's pitting this lap. Question is, though, is Gonzalez going to be in the pits before Zolga can get out? That's going to be the question. Otherwise, he may get himself a little bit held up. Again, looking like another long stop here for BMW. 11.8, so similar to what Peter was doing there. So maybe going for quite a longer stint on this occasion for Zolga. But 11.8 seconds for the BMW mechanics. Luckily, gets out before anybody else comes into pit lane. So where is Zolga going to emerge? He's going to emerge. I think he's going to emerge just in front of his teammate. And the answer to that is yes. So Zolga rejoins in third, just ahead of his teammate Zorbach, as Gonzalez in the Ferrari is now into the pits now then. So into the pits he goes, as Zorbach and Thompson are coming into the pit. So whilst their teammates are pitted this lap, they'll be coming in this lap, as will Bruno de Barros, the temporary race leader, is going to be in the pits this lap. So his teammate Bartosz Klos will take the lead temporarily in this race, as de Barros makes his way through the flat-out left and right-hander now then. And de Barros now then, be interested to see how much fuel they take, because we saw earlier on, Ra, that Zolga had a longer stop.
Yeah, we'll see how much fuel they will put on. Same thing goes for Zorbag and Thompson.
As Thompson trying to find a way through on Zorbach. Of course, those two are pitting this lap, so I think we'll. I'm interested to see who will have garage advantage compared to those two. But anyway, Bruno de Barros, the championship leader, is now into the pits for Penske. As he now makes his way into pit lane. His teammate Bartosz Klos will take the lead temporarily in this race. As now de Barros now comes into the pits now then. And let's see how quick this stop is going to be then. From the Penske mechanics. It's the first box, as you can see. Ignore the mismatching racing suits. They're not really representative. But anyway, he's into the pits. 17.9 laps of fuel. So quite short for de Barros. So you would expect this to maybe be a quick stop for the Penske mechanics. Let's see. He's still on the jacks at the moment. And it's 8.8 seconds. So yeah, quite a quick stop. Where is Zolga on the track? That's what I want to know. I think Zolga's actually gone. He's actually just coming down the pit straight, so he will retake the lead. But de Barros will have fresher tyres, so and he's obviously got lighter fuel than what Zolga has. So this could be fascinating at this stage. This could be fascinating at this stage of the race. And now we've got a pit stop battle now between Zorbach and Thompson. Who's got garage advantage? I think it might be Zorbach. Let's see. Yeah. And yes, it will be Zorbach. So I think Zorbach will still emerge in front of Thompson, but we will see anyway, as now the mechanics get to work on his car. Same goes for Thompson just in front in the Ferrari. So see how quick the stop is going to be then for the Ferrari mechanics and for the BMW mechanics as well. So let's see, as Volker is now into the pits for McLaren, and Zorbach does come out in front of Thompson as a result, as they now finish their pit stops. As Volker now in for McLaren, and let's see where he's going to emerge then after this pit stop. So as it looks like going to be quite a bit of a long stop here for Volker. Let's see, as it is an 11-second stop, so slightly quicker than what de Barros and not de Barros, Zolga and Peter were doing, but still quite a long stint it seems for Florian Volker, as Kirby will be coming into the pits this lap. There's still a few guys out there that still need to pit, and Peter's actually stuck behind Kirby as a result. Klos obviously is leading the race, but of course he needs to pit, and maybe this bit of traffic could help Klos here, because of course he was battling with Peter before the pit stop.
Yeah, indeed. We'll see how he goes, but yeah, of course, how long will it take for Peter to get past the traffic of Kirby?
Indeed, as now Peter trying to have a go at Kirby again towards maybe the chicane. He's going to try and line them up. Of course, Kirby's pitting this lap, so he doesn't really need to, but I don't think he's going to waste any time. He's going to go for it into the chicane, not wasting time, and Peter through into fourth place just before Kirby comes in the pits. And now Klos in the second Penske is coming into the pits this lap. By how much time would Peter have lost from being held up from Kirby? I wonder, as he's now finally got some clear air. But will it be a bit too late for Peter to stay in front of Klos? That's going to be interesting. Kirby, though, into the pits, though, for Chip Ganassi Racing, as Zolga has got a 3.1 second cushion to de Barros at the moment. Of course, he will retake the lead when Klos comes in, but it'd be interesting to see if de Barros, with the fresher tyres, is able to gain on Zolga on this stint. Let's keep an eye on the gap now then, and it's now down to 2.9. So yep, de Barros is starting to lap a little bit quicker now than what Zolga is on this stint. Of course, we've still got a second pit stop to go in this stint, and of course Zolga did fuel a lot heavier than what de Barros did, so maybe the longer stint could benefit Zolga a little bit later on in the race, Ra.
Yeah, indeed, but we'll have to see if the Bears can overtake Zorga, depending if he catches up to him.
Indeed, as now through the chicane goes Kloss, and he'll be coming into the pits now then as he flicks the car to the right, and into the pits comes Bartosz Kloss in the second Penske, so he'll give the lead back to Balint Zolga in the BMW Pyramid. And let's see how quick the stop is going to be then for Penske. It'll be interesting, of course. Now, remember, he was battling with Peter before this pit stop. Will he be able to jump the Andretti, or will the Andretti do enough to just stay in front of the Penske driver? Let's see as he now pulls into his box now then. Let's see how quick the stop is going to be then from the Penske mechanics now. Then fresh set of tyres and fuel going onto the car now then. Let's see where Kloss is going to emerge then after this pit stop now then, as the Penske mechanics get to work. 8.4 seconds is the stop. So now we're on lap 20, so the last lap really that we should be seeing the first stops being completed. As meanwhile, Lucian, I can't remember if he's pitted or not, if I'm not... No, he has pitted, yeah. Yes, it's him and Fitzwater battling, but where is Kloss going to emerge?
Ahead.
Is Kloss ahead? And yes, he is. Kloss has got the jump on Peter, so Kloss is now onto the podium places. Meanwhile, Fitzwater again now battling with Lucian for fifth position. Fitzwater on the inside. Can he get the move done this time? On the Frenchman, Danny inside into the first corner. They've been going very close together, but finally, Zachary gets the move done, and Fitzwater up into fifth position. A very close fight between the pair of them, but Fitzwater has finally got the move done, Ra.
Yep, finally, indeed. Will he be able to catch a Tiger Peter? We'll find out soon.
Going to be a bit of an ask, of course, because Peter is in a much quicker car, as we've seen all season, but he'll give it a good go, that's for sure. Well, Volker now on the back of Yuri Gabriel now then, in the Viper, as now Volker on the inside. I think Gabriel still needs to pit. No, he's already pitted, hasn't he? So Volker has actually dropped a lot way back after the pit stop, but he's finally got the move done on Gabriel and up into 13th. But yeah, Volker seems to have dropped a bit back after the pit stops, Ra.
I mean, his pace has been atrocious here, and because it's been a disappointing race for the McLaren Arrows team.
Indeed, sir, the McLaren SP team not doing particularly well around here, especially with Howell getting taken out on the first lap, of course. As now approaching the chicane now, then we go through the left and right-hander. We ride on board with Bartosz Kloss, who's got a lot of clear track in front of him, so maybe he'll be a little bit lonely. He also does have fresher tyres compared to Peter, so he can take full advantage of that and try and pull away. Meanwhile, Zorbach again having to fend off, as he's now got Sam Thompson all over the back of him. This is the battle for 8th position, for 4 championship points now then. Zorbach definitely struggling in the race. It seems that his car was clearly set up for qualifying in mind rather than the race. Thompson trying to go for it into the chicane, not going to work, and he has to back off as a result, and has created a bit of a buffer now between Zorbach and Thompson as a result, so it means you won't have a go into chicane. Meanwhile, Kirby on the inside of Simon Mutka, this looks like now, in the battle for length, can't get the move done. Mutka able to hold on, it compromised Kirby's line through into the chicane there as a result. I think we have completed the first round of pit stops now, and so obviously the second round of stops will come between the lap 30 to 40 mark for anybody who is curious. So keep an eye on between lap 30 to 40 is when we'll see the second round of pit stops getting underway. As we look back to the battle for 8th position, as Zorbach continuing to struggling. It seems that his car just doesn't seem to be set up for the race at all, right? It only seems to be set up for qualifying.
Yep, indeed. And yeah, his pace it's nowhere compared to his teammate Zolga, but yeah, he's doing have to stay in the top 10. But how long will he be in the top 10?
We'll see anyways. Thompson now trying to line up Zorbach for a pass down into the hairpin. Not going to work out. Wasn't fully committed and has to stay behind for the moment. La Rosa, meanwhile, has got past teammate Gabriel up into 14th position. As now Thompson making his way through the flat out left and right hander. Is he going to try and maybe go for a risky move into these medium section of corners? No, he's not. He's maybe going to wait for the chicane like the last lap to try and see if he can pass Zorbach. Meanwhile, Kloss now sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 30.402. So Kloss now holds on to the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. Of course, the Barrel's got the bonus point for pole position earlier on. So far, his teammate holding on to the bonus point for the fastest lap. As now Thompson trying to go up to the inside of Zorbach, but again, just can't seem to get the move done. But his line hasn't been compromised. Let's see if he can try and maybe get a run on him down towards the first corner. Depends on how he hooks up this last corner, which is the Coca-Cola curve now then. Heading his way onto the pit straight. Can Thompson get the move done on Nicholas Zorbach? He's in the slipstream of the BMW driver. He's going to go to the inside. Can Thompson get the move done on Zorbach into the first corner? He's not quite alongside him. He hasn't quite got the overlap, but he's going to break that a little bit later. Danny inside. Has he got the move done? And the answer to that is, well, he might not be.
Nope.
He's gone over the curve there, and luckily not able to spin it there. Now, I don't know if there was contact there between Zorbach and Thompson or not, like we saw a little bit earlier with Lucian and Fitzwater, but whatever the case, it looked like Thompson was getting a little bit impatient there, Ra.
Yep, indeed. And yes, do all over again, and he really is starting to lose his patience.
Well, look at this. Debauers is continuing to close in on Zorga now. Then the gap now down to just over a second between the pair of them. 1.004 to be exact. Now through the left-right chicane we go. Meanwhile, Kirby has already passed Mutka, unseen by the cameras. Now he's trying to pass Mutka's teammate, Frederick Sopo, who's actually come from nowhere after this pit stop. So obviously he was one of the early pitters now, and he's already into the points race. So that strategy clearly working out for Soper. As Kirby now onto the inside. Oh, hold your thought there. Can he get the points place off of Soper? No, he can't. Soper holds on. But yeah, he obviously was the first to pit, Ra, and it's definitely worked out because he's now in the points.
Yep, indeed. The undercut really powerful here, and really shows it. And yeah, if he could keep this pace up, he could probably sneak a point here.
Wow, Tabaus now under a second now behind Zolga, who we're running on board with at the moment as he come out of the right hand. And meanwhile, Kirby all over the back of Soper. Can he get the final points place off of the Carlin now then into the chicane? He's right on the back of Soper, but he can't get the move done. He's going to have to hang back and maybe try and go for a move into the first corner if he can. As meanwhile, we're back to the battle for the lead now then between Zolga and Debauers. Debauers now continuing to close in, of course, on the fresher tyres and with the lighter fuel. As Zolback making a bit of an error through into the first corner there, but Thompson was not able to capitalise. Thompson has caught back up, but not able to capitalise from yet another mistake from Zolback there. He's really, really struggling, Ra.
Yep, indeed, and this is not ideal for him, of course. But yeah, he might lose points, but then again, we'll see. I think he could be safe to get some points here.
Indeed so, as now we run on board with Debauers, who's now right onto the gearbox of Zolga. Is he going to go for the move into the chicane? Zolga having to defend the inside and having to cover it off, so Zolga holds on to the lead for the moment, but can Debauers maybe try and get a run out of the Coca-Cola curve and get himself into the lead? As meanwhile, Kirby has finally got 10th place off of Frederick Sober, so Kirby now back into the points as he's passed both of the Carlines now. In fact, we've just been told from Yui, Kloss is actually closing up to these two as well. Debauers tried to look to the, he's trying to fake to the left, go to the right, and going to the inside. Can Debauers take the lead from Zolga? Down the inside he goes, and the answer to that is Jan. Yes, the championship leader takes the lead. Bruno Debauers into the lead, and that was a very sneaky move there from Rob by faking to the left and going to the right.
You could say it's kind of like a Danny Ricciardo-esque move, what he did to Sebastian Vettel back at Monza 2014, but yeah, great move by the Bros there, but yeah, he did the dummy and he worked that out. And yeah, looking at the gap to Kloss, 4.5 now the gap. You can see how quick he is. It's now gone down to 4.3, so yeah, Kloss is flying at the moment. He could have a shot at the win.
Gonzalez, meanwhile, has just overtaken Lucy, and you've just seen there at the first corner. So Gonzalez up into 6th position. Can he now try and catch up Zachary Fitzwater for P5? We're right on board with the man who's clearly flying at the moment. In fact, there they are. You can just see them in the distance block. Kloss is really, really flying at the moment. Of course, he's got fresher tyres compared to these two, and of course, he's got lighter fuel. So he's obviously going to be running a lot quicker than the top two at the moment. So Kloss maybe could be, despite being in the wilderness in the early part of the race, he's now possibly found himself with a chance of trying to get his second consecutive win here, Ra.
Yeah, it could be a pesky 1-2, but we will have to wait to see. It will depend if Kloss can overtake Zorga and if he can take the win away from his teammate, the Barros.
Of course, let's not forget Zolga is on a heavier fuel load, so he could be on a lighter fuel load by the time we get to the second round stuff. As Thompson is finally past Zolback, so up into 8th place goes Sam Thompson in the Ferrari. He's finally got the move done. He's waited patiently and he's got the move done into the hairpin. Up into P8 goes Sam Thompson, but as I was saying, of course, Zolga does have heavier fuel load. Let's not forget, so he could be on a short stint by the end of the race, and with fresher tyres, which you could argue could be fresher than what both Kloss and Debauers may carry towards the end, he could get them back at the end of the race. So let's not discount Zolga from this race just yet, Ra.
Yep, indeed.
Indeed, as now we're at the halfway stage of the race now on lap 25 of 50 here at the Nürburgring. I think this race will finish before the F2 qualifying session. By how much, I'm not sure, but it will finish before then. I can guarantee you that. Luckily, we won't cross over. Of course, we did have a delay to the start of this race due to the fuel issues we had, which took a while to fix. But anyway, we're now looking at Volker, who's now starting to close onto these two Carlin cars now then. So obviously we saw Kirby overtake these two. Now it's Volker's turn to try and attack the two Carlin cars of both Mutka and Soper. And in fact, unseen by the cameras, Mutka has actually overtaken Soper. So Mutka has actually passed Soper, and now it's Volker's turn to try and get by on Soper. So clearly the cons of the early pit stop are now starting to show because he's on older tyres. Volker on the inside into the first corner, and he should get the move done. Oh, bit of contact there, and Volker having to bungee jump there, and he's gone onto the grass. as a result there, and well, it did look like that Volker was just not committed enough, and Zolg and Soper just ran into the back of him there.
Yep, indeed. No idea for Volker. I mean, he's not having a great race at all in front of his own fans. And meanwhile, Kloss is right behind Zorga. Will he be able to overtake him later on? We'll see.
Is really flying at the moment. Kloss is now got them within vision of both the top two now. There is the Bowers who's just gone around turn 1. There goes Zolga into turn 2, and Kloss is just right there. And it looks like on this lap, Kloss may be able to try and overtake Zolga on this lap as they make their way through into turn 2 now. Then as Zolga losing a little bit of curb on the exit there, but Kloss now trying to put him under a bit of pressure as they now make their way through into the right hand. They're using a bit of curb on the inside as they're actually coming up to some traffic in the form of Bartosz Bracki now. So there's some traffic in front which could benefit Kloss here, and maybe even Zolga as well at the same time. Debauers gets severely held up by Bracki in front as Debauers, as he's on the back of Bracki, as you can see. But now look at this, Kloss on the inside of Zolga. Can he get the move done into the hairpin? No, he can't. Zolga covers him off for the moment as Debauers has now been able to lap Bartosz Bracki, so he's now got a back market in between himself and both Zolga and Kloss at this stage. Clearly no team orders at Team Penske at the moment, Ra.
Clearly not, of course, but yeah, we'll wait and see. Kloss still there with Zolga, but they will be catching up to the lap traffic of Bracki.
Oh, definitely not, as they make their way down the hill now then towards the right-hander, and in fact trying to have a go at him into the right hand, not going to work out, and it looks like he's not going to be able to get a run on Zolga into the chicane. Zolga just able to defend the inside, but can Kloss now try and get a good run out of the Coca-Cola curve and try and get Zolga into the first corner. Let's see now then, through the Coca-Cola curve we come now then, through the final turn and onto the pit straight now then, we will go. Can Kloss get the move done on Zolga? He's done the inside, and but Zolga has actually got some slipstream from Bracki in front, which could help, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Kloss on the inside, can he get a little bit later on the brakes? Down the inside goes the Polish driver, and he's got the move done. Up into second place. Zolga may have clipped the back of Kloss there, and has gone over the curve there, and Zolga has dropped back as a result. But Kloss is now up into second place as a result, and well, either way, Kloss has now gained a place, but Zolga definitely losing track, and that's not good considering his strategy, Ra.
Yep, indeed. I don't think it was a mistake by Zolga. He may have gone a little bit wide, but I don't think he hit Kloss. Kloss didn't really feel anything, so yeah, just got the same effect as Volker did, and Sopa as well, and Fitzwater. Meanwhile, speaking of Volker, he's right on the back of that corner. I think that's Sopa as well.
Soper. It is Soper. He tried to have a go at him into the chicane there, but ended up getting shoved onto the curve, and as a result, he's now lost momentum to Frederick Soper in front at the moment. And, well, as you mentioned earlier, Volker clearly struggling at this race in front of his home crowd, and, well, he's not really giving the home crowd anything to show. Same goes really for Zorbach, who's clearly struggling around here at the moment. The German driver is clearly struggling around here at the Nürburgring. As meanwhile, let's see what's going to happen here between the two Penske drivers now. Then as Kloss has been able now to lap Bartosz Bracki. Let's see now what the gap is like between Debauers and Kloss now then. As we need to wait a little bit because, of course, it's still counting the gap between him and Zolga. Which it's not picked up there. So, but you can quite clearly see, Kloss is definitely lapping quicker than Debauers at this stage. 2 seconds is the gap. We can just see it down the bottom.
Yep, indeed. Catching, of course. Zolga, he might be out of it, but I think it could be once, even after his pit stop, he could be around like 12 to 13 seconds behind those two. And he might not have a shot at winning this race. He's pretty much gonna be between the Penskes. I don't think Zolga might have a chance, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yep, it all really depends really on how that strategy works out for Balint Zolga, of course. But meanwhile, we need to pay our attentions to the two Penske drivers who are currently at the front of the field at the moment. It's fair to say, though, in the last few races, it does appear like Kloss may have had the pace compared to Debauers throughout the last few races, Rob. But, of course, he's been making more mistakes than what Debauers has had this season.
Yeah, indeed. And if he can win this one, I think this could be where he could challenge Debauers, but then again, we'll have to wait and see. Debauers does have a good lead in the championship.
Does indeed, as it looked like I think Thompson was battling with somebody quite further down behind. Yep, Zolga's starting to fall back a bit from the two Penske's than he was. He was actually fighting with Lucien for 7th place there. Tried to have a go at him down at the Dunlop hairpin there, but it's not going to work out. We are close. We're now 1 lap away from the second round of pit stops to get underway. Once we get to lap 30, that's when we get to the second round of pit stops. As now, here comes Kloss now, and who's now getting close to the gearbox now of his own teammate Bruno de Barros, as they now make their way through the left-hander now, then coming towards turn number 3 on the racetrack now, then Kloss trying to put his teammate under a bit of pressure. 6.5 seconds now. Zolga is behind Kloss at this stage, so he's starting to drop back after that mistake he made. Maybe he could come back later on, but I think it's going to be a bit of an ask for the Hungarian, as now Kloss all over the back of de Barros now, then down through turn 6 now, then we go, and now down the hill towards the Dunlop hairpin is Kloss, going to go for it into the hairpin. He's going to go to the inside. Clearly no team orders at Penske, can't get the move done. de Barros defended the inside there from Kloss, and Kloss has to hang back as a result now. Then he's got better traction than de Barros, but not able to capitalise as they both make their way up towards the flat out Schumacher S now. Then through the right hander we go. Can Kloss try and get the move done on de Barros into the right hand? He's going to go for it into the corner. No, he's not. He's going to have to hang back. Maybe he'll try and go for it into the chicane. They've got to keep it tighter though, because I think Roger Penske would not be happy if his drivers decide to hit each other here. I know he doesn't run the team anymore, but he's still the owner. But anyway, as de Barros tries to defend the inside from Kloss now, then Kloss wasn't able to get him into the chicane. Maybe he can get him down into the Coca-Cola curve, not the Coca-Cola curve, down into turn 1, provided he gets traction out of the Coca-Cola curve, which is this one here. Through the final turn, odds of it, so he's now right onto the gearbox now. On de Barros, he's tucked into the slipstream. He's going to go to the inside. Can Kloss get the move done now? Then on de Barros, it's the battle for the lead between the two Penske drivers. Down the inside goes Barges Kloss into the first corner. Can he get the move done into turn 1? And the answer to that is yes. Kloss takes the lead here at the Nürburgring, and he has been absolutely flying on the stint rod. Kloss now into the lead.
Yeah, that stint really worked well for him, and he might have this win, but we'll see what happens after the final pit stops. But yeah, we are at that window, but we'll see when would they pit.
What was that? I didn't quite hear that because of Ra talking a bit there. Oh yeah, let's not forget, Kloss does have the 5-second time penalty. That just I actually forgot about that. Kloss, of course, does have a 5-second time penalty. So if he does want to win this race, he's going to have to pull 5 seconds. So technically, de Barros is still leading this race because it's not 5 seconds between the two Penske's. Meanwhile, Thompson on the inside of Lucien. Can he get 7th place? He can indeed. Thompson up into 7th place, and that's another place gain for the Ferrari driver. What a comeback he's made after only qualifying 15th for R.
Yep, indeed. Great comeback from Thompson, and a great race for them so far.
Kloss is definitely pulling away, as you can see, but he needs to obviously pull 5 seconds to take the lead officially due to his 5-second time penalty he got for overtaking on the wave. Yellow flag.
Oh no!
There's contact there between Cassidy and Gabriel there. Gabriel gets away with it, but Cassidy didn't. And once again, Cassidy has got damage roll. That's the second time he sustained damage.
Yeah, it was right where the leaders are as well. The leaders are catching up to them as well.
You can just see there, look on the replay. I think Cassidy, it's fair to say, probably a bit frustrated and was possibly just a bit too ambitious there.
Yep, indeed, and lucky that the Viper didn't even get any damage there on the rears. But yeah, the leader, Yuri Gabriel. I mean, yeah, he has been unlucky, but you could say he's been lucky on that one.
Luckily for Cassidy, it's come around about the pit stop stages, so he's kind of got away with that, but his race has been ruined anyway because he already had damage a little bit earlier on.
Barros compromised.
I was just going to say, it looked like Kloss also got a bit held up by Gabriel there, but now it's de Barros' turn to get held up, and I think the Penske boys are not going to be happy with both Yuri Gabriel because of that, as the two Carlins are now fighting for 11. Looks like Soper is now starting to lap a bit quicker than Mutka, because earlier on, Mutka was obviously lapping quicker, but now it seems that Soper is starting to go a bit quicker. Meanwhile, Alex-Eric Lucien has just come into the pit, so somebody in the points is now pitted for their second and final stop of the race. Alex-Eric Lucien into the pits as we continue to see the two Carlins fight for 11th place, and also into the pits is Nicholas Zorbach. He's fine. Zorbach now into the pits along with Lucien. So now both pitting. The top two are not pitting, nor is Zolga at this stage of the race. Of course, Zolga has got that heavy fuel load, so that's obviously something to keep an eye on as well. As Zorbach now into the pits. His scheduled stop, of course, we saw that Alex-Eric Lucien is also into the pits for Peugeot. So let's see how quick the stop is going to be then for Nicholas Zorbach in the pyramid as he finishes his pit stop, as does Alex-Eric Lucien in front. 10.2 seconds for the Persian mechanics. And let's see where the pair of them are going to emerge then after this pit stop. Looks like Lucian's going to rejoin in 9th position. Is Zorbach still going to emerge in 10th? Yes, that is no. In fact, because he's going to rejoin behind the battling two Penskes. Sorry, it's Carlin. Sorry, as we've got for some reason something popped up there. But Zopa has now overtaken Mutka, and he's up into and is now up into 10th position for the meantime. He's still got a pit. Meanwhile, Bruno de Barros is coming into the pits, Ra.
Yeah, it could be vital for the Barros, considering that cost us a penalty. I think the gap is over 2 seconds, but we'll see once we get to the leaderboard.
Indeed. Meanwhile, Cassidy now, then with fresher tyres, is now trying to overtake the Viper of Barcic Bracchi. Of course, he made contact with the Viper a little bit earlier on in front of Yuri Gabriel, but now he's trying to overtake the other one of Bracchi, trying to make a move into the first corner. Not going to work, and he clips the curb as a result. And he's definitely getting a bit frustrated today. Sam Thompson, meanwhile, in the Ferrari, has just come into the pit. Of course, we know that the Barros is coming into the pit at the end of this lap. But anyway,
has been overtaken.
Oh yeah, so yeah. Zorbach has now been overtaken. No, in fact, I think that might be because Zorbach just came out of the pits there. In fact, or it might have been. No, in fact, Zorbach actually going back on the track, so he's up into 11th, and now he's trying to get the other car in the Frederick Soper, whilst Thompson is currently in the pits. I think he might be exiting the pits as we speak right now. No, he's just only finished his pit stop. So let's see where Thompson is going to emerge then after this pit stop. Then in the Ferrari, he now trundles down the pit lane, quite a slow pit lane, it must be said. As he now flicks up the pit limiter, a 9.8 second stop from Ferrari, and Thompson rejoins in 9th position, just behind Alex-Eric Lucien. So, if I'm not mistaken, Thompson actually passed him before the pit stop. So, looks like Lucien has been able to jump him again. As meanwhile, Bruno de Barros in the Team Penske car is now into the pit. So, the championship leader now in for his second and final stop of the race. And this is going to be very, very interesting indeed as well. Because, of course, let's not forget about Zolga, of course. Because, of course, I know he's dropped back a bit. But, of course, he's on a heavy fuel load. And looks like he's going to go for a short stint towards the end of the race. So, who knows what his pace is going to look like when he gets onto those fresher tyres. Anyway, Barros into the pits. Puts on a fresh set of tyres and fuel as he looks to try and get back in front of Kloss in this race. Of course, Kloss does have a penalty, so he doesn't necessarily need to be ahead of him. But, of course, he needs to be within 5 seconds to be officially ahead of him on the timing screens. Anyway, de Barros now then finishes his pit stop now then. Let's see where he's going to emerge now. Of course, it's a 9.5 second stop from the Penske mechanics. Let's see where de Barros emerges then after this pit stop. He's going to emerge way out in 3rd position. Peter is nowhere to be seen. Peter's just not had the pace today, and de Barros rejoins in 3rd position. So now it's going to be interesting to see what happens with both Zolga and Kloss in this race. I think Kloss is expected to pit before Zolga, of course. But, in fact, Kloss is pitting this lap, so yet Zolga will take the lead temporarily. But, of course, Zolga will be staying out a little bit longer, we believe, to around about lap 40. So it will be interesting to see maybe lap 39 to lap 40, right to the edge of the pit stop window. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. de Barros came out of the pits 20 seconds behind Zolga after that pit stop, so something to keep an eye on there as well. Gonzalez, meanwhile, in the second Ferrari, he's also pitting this lap. So 2 drivers in the top 5 will be coming into the pits this lap now. Then as Kloss now then makes his way towards the chicane as he now makes his way through the left and right-hander now then, as he now peels to the right, which he does. So into the pits comes Barcic Kloss in the Penske now then. So now he comes into the pits, and let's see how quick this stop is going to be then. For Barcic Kloss in the second Penske now then, as we've just passed the 6 o'clock mark, so we're just under an hour away from the Formula 2 qualifying session at Kuala Lumpur. This should finish way before now. I think this will finish just before 6:30, so just enough time for F2 to get onto the air. So anyway, Kloss is in. Zolga will take the lead, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do with that strategy once he pits towards the end of the second pit stop window. Anyway, let's see where Kloss emerges then after this pit stop. Where will de Barros be actually pits? 9.3 seconds, so 2 tenths quicker than de Barros' pit stop, because he's had a 9.5 second pit stop. Where is de Barros? That is the question now then. Barros is actually coming down the pit straight now then. This is going to be close between the 2 Penske drivers. Who is going to emerge in front? Is it going to be Kloss or is it going to be de Barros? There is Kloss. He's just on the right there. I think he might have just done enough to stay in front of de Barros, but let's say de Barros has a look, but Kloss still stays in front. So Kloss is in front of him on the track, but of course officially de Barros is ahead on the timing screen, so of course let's not forget Kloss does have the 5 second time penalty. So at the moment de Barros will be ahead on the official timing screens, and meanwhile Peter is stuck behind some traffic in the form of the battling Cassidy and Bracky, as Cassidy goes all the way around the outside of Bracky. That's a good move from the Venezuelan driver, and he gets up into 16th place, but in turn held up Peter as a result. But Kloss stays out in front, but he's got to use those fresher tyres to build a gap between himself and De Bauer. But of course, let's not forget about Balint Zolga, who's obviously staying out for quite a while. He's got a 16.8-second cushion. It all really depends really on what the gap looks like when Zolga makes his final pit stop, of course. And of course, he will have lighter fuel by the time he makes his pit stop. Gonzalez has finished his pit stop, and he comes out just in front of Thompson, who, unseen by the cameras, has re-overtaken Lucien. So Thompson has got back ahead of Lucien somewhere on the track, but Gonzalez has rejoined just in front of Thompson after that pit stop. So that's that really. The two Ferraris close together there after the pit stops there. As Lucien now then just comes out of the right-handers. He's starting to lose time now to Thompson, and it looks like Gonzalez may start to pull him. In fact, Gonzalez rejoined just behind Joao Pedro Kirby there. I think Kirby, is he yet to pit? I'm not sure. I think Kirby is yet to... Yeah, he's still yet to pit, so this is not a legit battle, but Gonzalez is not wasting any time. He's going to go to the inside of Kirby into the hairpin, and he gets the move done. He's up into 6th place there, and not wasting any time, putting a car between himself and teammate Thompson. And now Thompson and Lucien would like a piece of Kirby if they can. As now Kloss is starting to pull away again from De Bauer with the fresher tyres, but still De Bauer is officially ahead on the timing screen because of that 5-second time penalty. So obviously we need to keep an eye on that by the end of the race, as Kloss now they're making his way through these section of corners. And now Thompson trying to overtake Kirby now in the fight for 7th place now then, as they make their way towards the chicane now then. It's Fitzwater now then, and the second Chip Ganassi car is into the pits as they make their way through into the chicane now then. And now, let's see what Thompson is able to do now that he's trying to find a way through on Joao Pedro Kirby. Kirby obviously staying out for a little bit longer now then, as they make their way down the pit straight. Thompson now on trying to look to the inside of JP Kirby's Chip Ganassi car now then, as they make their way down towards the first corner. I don't think he's that committed, and no, he's not. Kirby just going to hold on as a result, as meanwhile Gonzalez, well, we already saw it, Gonzalez now into 5th, because of course Fitzwater has rejoined in 9th after his pit stop. Thompson trying to go the long way around the outside of Kirby there, not going to work out. He needs to be careful though, because now Lucien is on the back, and so is Zachary Fitzwater. He's rejoined right behind this battle, so Kirby might be trying to do Fitzwater a bit of a favour here at this stage of the race.
Yeah, indeed. Let's see if Fitzwater can take advantage, or will he have to battle it out for himself, but we'll see.
Indeed so. Francesco La Rosa, meanwhile, the Manor has just come into the pits now then. Now, we look to the inside now then. There's now Thompson on the inside of Kirby, and he's got the move done up into 6th position. Goes the Ferrari driving. Kirby is finally coming into the pits his lap. Meanwhile, Fitzwater, all the way back, as it looks like Gabriel may have made a mistake through into the chicane there, whilst Bracky was passing him there. So maybe a bit of miscommunication there going on between the two Viper cars. Meanwhile, back to the battle for 8th between Lucien and Thompson. Or sorry, Fitzwater, or we were looking at that, but now we're not. Bracky's in now then. As now look at Fitzwater now, trying to put Lucien under a bit of pressure now then, as looks like Kirby on to defend the inside, as Lucien tries to flick it to the inside, not going to work out, as they all go single file through into the chicane. Kirby will flick to the right to go into the pit, so into the pits goes JP Kirby in the Chip Ganassi car, as now his teammate Fitzwater is free to now attack Lucien for 7th place, for 6th place I should say, I think, sorry, 7th place, I mean. Fitzwater now on the inside of Lucien, and it looks like it's going to be an easy move for the Aussie now then, as he goes down the inside into the first corner. Down the inside he goes. Has he got the move done? And the answer to that is yes. Fitzwater up into 7th place as a result now then, and that's P7 for the Australian.
Yep, indeed. And looking at the gap, Zolga is 10 seconds ahead of Kloss. But if he's like 10 to 15 seconds behind, he needs to gain around like 2.5 seconds a lap to probably try catch up to him, or even win this race.
Kirby
and even overtake the Barros as well. Yeah.
Kirby rejoins 13th after his pit stop, as La Rosa trying to put Cassidy under a bit of pressure here in the fight for 14th position now then, as they make their way through into the right-hander. Here is Barch's Kloss now then in the Penske, as he now makes his way through.
He's gone wide.
Into the right-hander, as they look like Kirby, they went a bit wide going through that right-hander. As it's 8.6 seconds now between Zolga and Kloss, but 2.8 between Kloss and De Bauer. So De Bauer is still officially ahead of Kloss on the timing screens, thanks to that 5-second time penalty that Kloss has got. So now coming down towards the hairpin now, then we go. As now they just come out the corner using a lot of curb on the outside there then, as we now make our way towards the section of corners. As meanwhile, it seems that some places are starting to spread out. Meanwhile, somebody in 10th place is now coming into the pits, that being Frederick Soper. So Soper in the Carlin is coming into the pits this lap. Of course, Zolga not pitting just yet in the BMW Pyramid. I think he's going to be in around another 2 laps or so. But whether Kloss can catch up to him by the time his second pit stop comes around, we'll all have to wait and see. Soper now then into the pits for Carlin. So let's see. Soper emerges then after this pit stop as the mechanics come out for someone. I'm not sure whose mechanics that is. But anyway, Soper now then is now pulling into his box now then. And let's see how quick the stop is going to be then for Frederick Soper. As he puts on a fresh set of tyres and fuel now then. And so is Soper going to emerge? Well, we're not going to know, as Zolga is staying out for at least another lap. So I think it is around about lap 39 to 40 is when we're going to see Balint Zolga make his second and final stop, and then we'll see what he's able to do after that pit stop, whether he's got enough pace to catch back up to the 2 Penskes. I think it might be a bit of an ask, but we will see, as the Hungarian now then makes his way through the medium speed right-hander now then, as he now comes down towards the end of the sector quite soon. It's now down to 5.9 seconds between Kloss and Zolga. What is it this time by? As Peter now then in the Andretti comes into the pit. So Igor Peter is now into the pits. He's obviously had quite a lonely race, has the Brazilian. Has not had the pace since Indianapolis really to fight for a win. And, well, I think it's fair to say, his championship may be starting to slip away a bit. We've got a yellow flag into turn 1. We've got a yellow flag, and it's Yuri Gabriel, and it's a transmission failure, so it's back to reality for Yuri Gabriel after finishing last time out in Monza. His retirement luck has come back to haunt him, Ra.
Yep, indeed, and yeah, it's a season to forget for Yuri Gabriel in that Viper. Yeah, he has had a lot of bad luck. None of it weren't his fault. Some were mechanical, but yeah, this is a season to forget for him.
Indeed, and I bet he's hoping that he can forget this season and move on to next season. And he's hoping, of course, to stay, sorry, to stay in World Champ Car after the season. Meanwhile, Peter rejoins in 5th ahead of Thompson and Fitzwater. There's a bit of a lock-up there for Barcic Bracchi. Of course, no overtaking into the first corner, but it looks like the yellows are going to be clear soon because Gabriel's car is looking like it's going to now be hoisted over the barriers. And maybe across the track, it seems. Note the yellows have now gone, it seems, so you can now overtake again into the first corner. Perfect timing, in fact, for maybe JP Kirby is now all over the back of Florian Volker heading into the first corner, but not close enough to make a move. So Volker just able to hold on. That position for He's got a bit deep. Here comes Kirby around the outside, and that's a brilliant move from Brazilian. Opportunistic, and up into P11 goes JP Kirby there.
Oh, Lucian!
Say Lucian out of the race. What a shame. He was running so well in the points, but a mechanical failure has taken care of him, and it is another gearbox issue, it seems.
Puncture, I think, isn't it? Isn't it a puncture? He has a pit call. He has a pit call, so it must be puncture.
I don't think it is a puncture because his icon on the bottom right did not indicate.
No, I think I can. Yeah, it is.
It is a puncture, so I don't know why it said gearbox issue as well, but. Me. But Alex Eric Lucien, either way, out of the race. Such a shame. He was running so well in the points, and well, it's gone down the drain. Meanwhile, Balint Zolga is now coming into the pits this lap. The gap down to 2.6 seconds. So yeah, I think it is going to be a bit of an ask for Balint if he wants to catch the 2 Penskes up.
Yeah. Also, Kloss is nearly 5 seconds ahead of the barrel, so he might get this win, but we'll see. We'll wait and see officially.
Indeed, as now Zolga makes his way through the Schumacher S now then. As a result of Lucien being out, we're now down to 15 runners in this race now then, as Zolga makes his way down the hill towards the flat-out right-hander now then. And it's now down to 1.6 seconds. In fact, Kloss took an entire second out of Zolga in that sector, but luckily Zolga is pitting this lap, so he won't be coming under pressure from Kloss anytime soon. So now Zolga is into the pit, and it now will be very interesting to see how this strategy will work out for the Hungarian driver. It is going to be a bit of an ask to try and get a hold of the 2 Penske drivers within 11 laps. Of course, he just needs to be within 5 seconds to get a hold of Kloss, but it will be fascinating to see. But anyway, Zolga is in. The 2 Penskes have gone through, so it is a Penske 1-2. Meanwhile, Kirby up into 9th position. He's got the move done on Simon Mutka, so he's up into 9th position there. And where's he going to win? 7.1 second stop, so a very, very quick stop for the BMW mechanics. And we're going to see what the gap is like in a little bit between De Barros and Zolga. In fact, De Barros is only just coming around turn 3 now then. And meanwhile, we're looking at Gonzalez, who's already made his pit stop, and he actually jumped Peter in the pits. But Peter, with the fresher tyres, is wanting to get that 4th place back off of Rubino Gonzalez. Zolga does rejoin in 3rd. He had a very big gap to these two anyway, so that wasn't a question. So Zolga does come out in 3rd position. Anyway, round the Coca-Cola curve, then we go. Is Peter going to get the move done on Rubino Gonzalez now? As I come down the pit straight, he's going to look to the inside. Can Peter get the move done on Gonzalez into that first corner? He's getting alongside the Ferrari driver down towards the first corner. Down the inside goes Peter in the Andretti. Has he got the move done? And the answer to that is yes, he has. He's up into 4th position. I thought for a minute there was going to be contact, but there isn't. Peter up into 4th place. Gonzalez down to 5th as a result. But I think that's probably where Peter is going to end up, because he's way far back from the top 3. As right on board now then with Bartjes Kloss. I didn't quite see what the gap was like there between himself and De Bouwers. It's just in front there. Volker has just peeled into the pit, as has, I think, one of the Carlin cars there, who's just come into the pit. So 2 cars have just made their way into the pits that time by, as we've got 10 laps to go when Kloss crosses the line. We're on lap 41 of 50, 10 laps to go, and it is over 5 seconds. So Kloss is now officially in the lead of the race. It is over 5 seconds, so Kloss is now officially leading this race. Fitzwater now on the inside of Thompson. This is the fight for 6th, but Thompson just able to fend off for the time being as the battle for 6th continues to intensify. Fitzwater putting Thompson under a lot of pressure, and yeah, that's pretty much that. And I didn't quite see what the gap was like between De Bouwers and Zolga. I was meant to do so, but because there was so much battling on the track, I didn't quite catch it. And it was a Carlin that was in the pits. It was Simon Mutka who came in. Mutka rejoins in 11th after this pit stop, and Volker rejoins in 12th. It's now back to the battle for 6th now then between Thompson and Fitzwater. Is Fitzwater going to try and maybe line up for a pass into the chicane? He's thinking about it, but he thinks better of it and has to hang back. And I think that's going to compromise his run through into the chicane. And yeah, I think he's got a little bit compromised there as a result now then, as they round the Coca-Cola curve now then, and I don't think he's close enough. The gap between Zolga and De Bouwers is 17.7 seconds, so yeah, he's going to need a bit of an ask, I think, Ra.
Yeah, indeed, and I feel like 3rd is the best he can get. Is, yeah, looking at the pace here, not as quick. I mean, he's not that quicker than De Bouwers, and Kloss is still quicker than both of them. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, 3rd is the best he can get.
We'll see, of course, anything could happen here with these remaining 9 and a bit laps to go, as Kloss will soon be starting lap 42 of the race, which he does do now. So 9 laps to go in this race here at the Nürburgring, as De Bouwers doesn't have the pace to Kloss, and I think he could be content with 2nd place. As now Fitzwater on the inside of Thompson. Can he get the move done this time by into the Dunlop hairpin? And the answer to that is yes. Fitzwater up into 6th position, and that is 8 championship points for the Australian. And Fitzwater having another good race, Ra. Ra, are you there? I can't hear Ra for some reason. I don't know if he's disappeared or not. But anyway, as we now come around the right-hander now then, as Kloss now then makes his way down towards the Dunlop hairpin. Now coming around the right-hander now then we go. As we now look at Soper now, he's actually trying to unlap himself, in fact.
Come back.
Which he does do, and Ra is back. I was just saying there, Fitzwater up into 6th position. He's having another good race.
Yeah, indeed. He could even get 5th because he's not far from Gonzalez. He could get 5th. I don't know about 4th because Peter did pit later on. So yeah, he could try and challenge for 5th, but we'll see what happens.
Indeed, so we're running on board with Balint Zolga, who's currently in 3rd position. I didn't quite see what the gap was like this time around. Of course, last time we checked, it was 17.7 seconds between himself and Bruno De Bouwers. So we'll wait and see what the gap looks like when the timing screen comes by next time around, as Zolga now then makes his way up towards the chicane now then. And I mentioned that De Bouwers actually got unlapped there. So De Bouwers seemingly struggling on this stint, it seems to be saying, because somebody has actually unlapped themselves to him. So maybe that could help Zolga a little bit, maybe get 2nd place. And in fact, I don't think Zolga's actually gaining quite a lot, in fact, on De Bouwers, because it's actually now down to 30.5 seconds. So I think at this stage of the race, De Bouwers is starting to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, Zolga started to turn it up, and DeBarros just started to struggle. So he's pretty much both of them. And yeah, Zolga, can he catch up to him? We'll see. I don't think it will be enough, but anything can happen.
Indeed so, as Kloss now making his way out of the Dunlop hairpin now, then as he now makes his way up towards the Schumacher S as he continues to pull away from Bruno de Bouwers, which is all good for him at the moment, because of course we know that Zolga is definitely lapping quick out there, but as long as he has a good enough gap before the end of the race to be above 5 seconds before the end, he will win this race. We're right on board with Bruno de Bouwers. I'm not sure if he just made a little bit of a mistake there through into the Schumacher S, because it looked like he had a little bit of a wiggle through into there, but whatever the case, it's now down to 12.5 seconds between Zolga and de Bouwers. Zolga is absolutely flying compared to de Bouwers at this stage of the race, and now as he now comes up towards the chicane, and now heading towards the left and right, and they're using all the curb as possible now then. As now coming up towards the final corner of the Coca-Cola curve. There is Zolga. Let's see what the gap is like this time by as he now makes his way through into the chicane. And now heading towards the final turn. Let's see what the gap is like this time by between de Bouwers and Zolga as he now makes his way out of the final turn now then and onto the pit straight. And the gap now then, we're going to find out in just a little bit. I don't think it's going to show us, I don't think. No, it's not going to show us on that occasion for some reason. We'll have to look when it scrolls back. And we're looking now. It is actually 10.6 seconds, the gap is. So 10.6 seconds now, the gap between Zolga and de Bouwers. So, yeah, I think if he keeps this up, Zolga could get at least second place here, Ra.
Yeah, actually, he is gaining around like 3 seconds a lap, I would assume. So yeah, he actually does have a chance. I think the gap might have gone down to 9 seconds, but we'll see later on. But I mean, we didn't see at first, but we'll see once they cross the line again.
Indeed so, as we continue to ride on board with the race leader, Bartosz Kloss, who now makes his way through the right-hander, just missing the curb on the outside there as he makes his way down towards the flat-out right-hander, using a bit of curb as he now makes his way up towards the chicane. He's got a 9.4 second cushion now in front of Bruno de Bouwers, and looking there, yeah, it is around 9 seconds now. It is 9.3 seconds, I think the gap is now between de Bouwers and Zolga, so Zolga definitely flying at this stage of the race now then as we continue to ride on board with the championship leader, de Bouwers now in through the Coca-Cola curve. He goes now then, and I'm sure Penske will be letting him know that Zolga is definitely closing up to him rapidly at this stage. 8.4 was the gap last time by, as you can see on that graphic there, and I don't think we're going to see it that time by as a result of still being over 5 seconds between the pair of them, but we'll see what the gap is like when the scroll on the bottom turns back around. And so now heading towards turn 3. There is Zolga now then, as he now comes around turn 2 on the racetrack now then. Let's see what the gap is like when it scrolls back, and it doesn't show us. It just shows us the pit stops. How ironic. Not an appropriate time. Not an appropriate time when we've got Zolga closing in on the Bouwers. I wanted to see what the gap was like, but clearly the graphics were telling me otherwise. I'm not interested in the gap between Zolga and Peter. I want to know what the gap is like between de Bouwers and Zolga. But yeah, I guess the graphics having other ideas there for me to see the gap. But anyway, now coming around the hander, there goes Kloss as he'll soon be starting the 46th lap. So we'll have 5 laps to go when he crosses the line. And now through the flat-out right-hander he will go before making his way towards the left-right chicane. As he now flicks the car in through the left and then into the right-hander now then he goes. As now heading his way towards the Coca-Cola curve. Now coming out of the final turn and onto the pit straight he goes to start lap 46 of the race. The graphics still not showing us the gap for some reason between Zolga and de Bouwers. 5 laps to go though for the race leader Bartosz Kloss. As now we come around the final corner and onto the pit straight now then we go. And Zolga now then still pushing hard to try and gain onto de Bouwers at this stage of the race. And so now making the way down towards the hairpin there. And in fact, let's see. I think you can just about see de Bouwers there whilst we're running on board there on Balint Zolga. So he is definitely getting closer and closer to the championship leader at this stage. And anything really to help Bartosz Kloss, it's fair to say. Because if it stays like this at the moment, I can tell you that Kloss will actually move up to second in the Drivers' Championship. He will move ahead of Igor Peter But and I'm trying to think the gap between him and what the gap would be like between him and de Bauer, because going into this race, it was 44 points between de Bauer and Kloss. But if it stays like this at the moment, because of course Kloss does have the fastest lap of the race at the moment, and of course de Bauer did have the pole position, so they both had bonus points in this race. If it were to stay like this, at the moment it will go down to 37 points. But if Peter can find a way, Zolga can find a way through on de Bauer, then it will be down to 34 points. So, definitely, it looks like we mentioned earlier on, that Kloss was starting to, the last few races, starting to have the pace compared to de Bauer, may come at a crucial point.
Yeah, it could be. But, yeah, of course, the Ross consistency was the reason why he had a big lead in the championship. But if Kloss can have that consistency like the Barros, then, but in wins in terms of, then, yeah, Kloss could have a shot. But, yeah, the gap is 2.5, I think I just saw.
Yep, indeed. And I can tell you for a fact, though, with it staying, if the result stays like this at the moment, de Bauer will have his first shot at winning the title at Yehognam. However, he will need quite a lot of luck, I think, to do it. As Andres LaRusa in the manner, another retirement and another mechanical failure. We've had so many mechanical failures in this race. It looks like a brake failure for Francesco La Rosa, and he is out of the race, and we are down to 14 runners. So more mechanical failures in this race, Ra.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, these cars are unreliable, but yeah, even brakes wise, it's unreliable. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, you would expect that for a new championship in the OC. But yeah, we'll see once we get to next season.
Indeed so, but meanwhile, the gap now down to 1.7 seconds between de Bauer and Zolga. Zolga is right there. He is now close to the back of de Bauer. He has got a chance to take second place off the Brazilian and ruin any chance of a Penske 1-2 here at the Nürburgring. It's now under a second, 0.8 seconds now. The gap between Zolga and de Bauer now as they make their way up towards the left-right chicane now. Then flicking it in for the left, then into the right. As we now got 3 laps to go for Bartjes Kloss in this race now then. Through the Coca-Cola curve we go. 11.4 seconds the gap between Kloss and de Bauer, and that will be something to keep an eye on between Zolga and Kloss. But I think it will be a bit of a task for Zolga. But look at the slipstream Zolga's got now on de Bauer. This is his first chance. He's going to go to the inside of the Brazilian. Can he get the move done into the first corner? Danny inside. No, not quite. De Bauer just able to hold on for the moment and not able to get him on traction. But, well, that was a bit unexpected there. I didn't expect him to go for a move straight away.
Yep, indeed. And yeah, good job that the Barrels saw them off. That was good defending from the Barrels, but will he be able to hold up for the rest of the race? We'll see.
Indeed so, as now Zolga trying to look to the inside, into the left-hander, not going to work there. De Bauer able to hold on, but Zolga could go for a move down at the Dunlop hairpin, coming out of the right-hander now, and Zolga right in the slipstream of the championship leader. He's going to look to the inside. Can Zolga take second place from De Bauer and ruin any chance of a 1-2? He's going to look to the inside. Down the inside he goes. No, not quite. De Bauer just able to hang it around the outside and keeps hold of second place. De Bauer's not letting this second place go that easily.
Yep, indeed. He's not giving up without a fight.
Definitely not, as now they come around the section of corners and Zolga really putting de Bauer under a lot of pressure here now then. As they now come down the straight, and Zolga trying to look to the inside of the right hand. I don't think that's wise. He's going to lose a bit of momentum going into the chicane as a result. And as a result, he's not going to go for it. So he's going to once again have to wait for turn number 1. Through into the chicane now, there we go. As Kloss has just started the penultimate lap here at the Nürburgring now then. Zolga through the final turn and onto the pit straight now. Then we will go as Zolga now right onto the gearbox now then of Bruno de Bauer. He's tucking into the slipstream of the championship leader. He's looking to the inside. Can Zolga get second place over Bruno de Bauer and ruin any chance of a Penske 1-2? Down the inside goes Zolga into the first corner. Has he got the move done? And the answer to that is yes. Zolga up into second place. He's got the move done. De Bauer's not able to respond, and that is P2 for Balint Zolga. I think it's a bit too late for him to try and bring that gap down to under 5 seconds between himself and Kloss. But yeah, second place, not a bad going, Ra.
Yep, indeed. Great drive by Zolga as well. Still there, but yeah, maybe the strategy cost him a chance of the victory, but yeah, his pace within the final 10 laps have been amazing to watch here. But yeah, great job by Zolga.
Indeed so, as we now look at Bartosz Klos now then in the Penske. He has got over 11 seconds or around 12 seconds to these two. I would imagine that Zolga may be starting to bring it down. In fact, he has brought it down. It's now down to 10.9 seconds. But I think Zolga's going to need a bit of an ask if he wants to bring that down to under 5 seconds, because we've only got 1 and a bit laps to go here at the Nürburgring. But it will be interesting to see what the gap is like by the end of the race. I think Klos may have enough to get 2 wins in a row, but you never know, of course. Anything can happen in racing, and it usually does. But anyway, Klos coming around the final corner as he will now start the final lap here at the Nürburgring, and the final lap for World Champ Car in Europe this season, of course, because the final 3 races, of course, are all happening in Asia, of course. So now, making their way down the hill, actually, Zolga got it down to 10.6 in the previous sector, so if that's the case, then I don't think he's going to have enough to gain onto Klos. I think Klos has done enough to hold on to the win, of course, even with that 5-second time penalty. But he has started the final lap of the race, and it has been a perfect race for Klos. Of course, he didn't get off to the best of starts for him, of course. He didn't have the best of starts. He dropped down to 8th at the start. He overtook on the wave yellow flags, which, of course, gave him that 5-second time penalty. But after the first round of pit stops, he was back in the game. And as long as he keeps it above 5 seconds, it's going to be 2 wins in a row for Bartosz Klos. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, he could be a championship contender, Ra.
Yep, indeed. He could be in it. I mean, we'll see, of course, off the career, but yeah, this is what he did. He won the last race. He's on course to win this race. It could be 2 wins in the bounce for him, and yeah, we'll have to see if the gap is over 5 seconds.
Indeed so, as Klos now then comes around the right-hander. He comes down the hill now then for the 50th and final time. I didn't quite... we're not seeing the gap for some reason between himself and Zolga for whatever reason, but I think he's got enough in the bag to stay in front of Balint Zolga. But anyway, Bartosz Klos comes around the final corner for the 50th and final time. He has done a fantastic job, and after an amazing strategy, it is going to be Bartosz Klos who wins here at the Nürburgring to take his 2nd win in a row. A fantastic drive for Bartosz Klos, 2 wins in a row for the Polish driver, and now possibly has given himself a good chance to try and win the title. Of course, he will need some help to do. He will need a bit more to win it, but he has done it nonetheless. Zolga, I think, is in 2nd place. I don't think the gap was short enough to get a hold of Klos. I think we'll just get clarification of it when the scroll comes back around, I think, as Mutka crosses the line third. And yep, it was 11 seconds. So Klos does officially win the race. De Barros 3rd, Peter in 4th, who's going to be crossing the line in 4th in a little bit. But Peter dropping more points behind, but not as many as he would have thought coming into this race. So he will now be, just trying to think off the top of my head, he will now be, he will now be quite a few points back. He's obviously going to drop down to 3rd as a result, but he's dropped a little bit more points now to Bruno de Barros. Obviously, you'll find out a little bit later on. I'll do the Wikipedia for it after the FT qualifying session, but I'll do the standings before then, so don't worry about that. Anyway, Gonzalez crosses the line in 5th. A good result for him, considering he qualified in 10th. A good result for Fitzroy. He finishes in 6th. Great comeback from Thompson from 15th to 7th. Good comeback for him. He finished in 7th. Nicholas Zorbach just hasn't been his race, really. He started in 2nd place, but clearly his car was set up for qualifying, and it definitely showed as he dropped backwards in the race, and he's only going to finish down in 8th place in front of his adoring fans, which is a bit of a shame for him. So only P8 for Nicholas Zorbach in the end. Still double points for BMW Pyramid, but I think Zorbach is not going to be happy at all. And that is the race result, with Bartosz Klos, despite the 5-second time penalty, winning the race and taking his 2nd victory in a row, and he's now potentially a championship contender as a result. Bartosz Klos wins the race. Balint Zolga 2nd, Bruno de Barros in 3rd, with Igor Peter in 4th, Rubino Gonzalez in 5th, Zachary Fitzwater in 6th, with Sam Thompson in 7th, Nicholas Zorbach is in 8th, with Joe Pedro Kirby in 9th, Frederick Soper rounding out the points in 10th, with Simon Mutka in 11th, and you can do the rest, Ra.
Yeah, in 12th we have Florian Berger, very disappointing 12th place for him. The date forget for McLaren. Thomas Cassidy in 13th, with Bartosz Baraki 2 laps down in 14th. Francesco La Rosa classified in 15th. The retirements for Eric Lucien in 16th. Well, Eric Lucien, Yuri Gabriel, TJ Prepero, Toby Holloway, Gabriel Gomez, Kim Son-min, and Jordan Howell.
And the fastest lap of the race, just to clarify, it was Bartosz Klos. So along with the 25 points he gets for the victory, he also gets the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. Of course, not the pole position bonus point. That went to Bruno de Barros, but he gets 26 points out of this race. Well, there you have it, and that has been it from the World Champ Car race here at the Nürburgring. I hope you have enjoyed it. A very good race indeed, and we could have a championship fight now between the two Penske drivers, which will be quite interesting indeed. Of course, the Barros will have his first shot at winning the title in 2 weeks' time, but I think he will need quite a lot of luck, if I'm being completely honest with you. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. Of course, not done with live streams, because coming up in just under half an hour's time, we of course have the F2 qualifying session, which I believe Rob is also doing commentary for on that, so he needs to dash off a bit quickly. Of course, the next World ChampCar race will be in 2 weeks' time at the Korea International Circuit in Yeongnam, South Korea, the first of 3 Asian races this season. Of course, tomorrow we of course have the practice and qualifying session for the top class Malaysian Grand Prix along with the F2 race, and then of course on Wednesday the top class race in Malaysia, which will feature live commentary for the first ever time. And of course, we also have the DTM finale this weekend as well, along with Formula E as well, coming up either this weekend or Monday at Fuji Speedway, where Audi could clinch the team's title. So look forward to that. But until then, guys, that's been it. I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you all for watching. I've been JW97. He's been Ra, and we will see you next time. Take care.